The first live time. What's going on, chat? What's up, Slick Rick? What's up, Enrique? What's up, Matt? What's up, Caitlin? What's up, Yoda? Let's see if we can get this fixed.
I think it might go live here in a sec.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, you guys there's like a two-part setting. Once I send to the studio, you guys got to hit live in the studio, and then once you hit live in the studio, then
okay, we're good.
Then we're good. Okay.
All right. We're here. We're live. Let's give a quick recap.
For the people
now just joining us because it'll not make sense otherwise. So if you're just joining on my channel, what we're doing today here, we have a Power Poker podcast. Me and Joey are going through the top stories of 2024. We're doing it draft style, where we each select which story we thought was the biggest in order. And at the end, we're going to have our two teams, and you guys can decide who you think has a better team of top stories for 2024. And then we're going to move over to talking about 2025, what we got coming up, what Joey's working on, what I'm working on, what's big at poker, all of the top stories to come. So it should be a fun one to get your year started the right way. We just recapped the first selection in the 2024 poker draft. I selected Jonathan Tamayo with the laptop on the rail with Dominic Niche to assist him in winning. Was it $10 million? I want to say $10 million.
I think it was like $8 million, something like that. $12 million, $10 million.
Some number of millions at the World Series of Poker main event, #1 pick, and we were about to move on to the second pick here. So with that out of the way, let's just go ahead and jump over. Joey, you now have the second pick in the draft. What was your #2 story in poker?
Okay, I do feel bad for your audience that they did miss the first part of the first answer. It's on my channel too as well, so shout out to everybody on Doug's channel. And so yeah, we're doing the recapping. We're recapping last year's story. So I think you went with a pretty safe pick, the WSOP drama bomb. I mean, anytime you got the biggest event with a big drama. I mean, for me, it was, I think there's a lot of good options, and it really depends on if you want to focus on the best players. Is it the player of a year? That's just kind of thought. I'm giving my thought process how I'm trying to break down these stories. I actually got a lot of them. Is it what I'm personally interested in? Is it what got the most buzz? Is it what people on social media were loving? Is it, what I thought's the most impactful to the poker industry, to the state of poker? So I feel like that's the way I went because that's the area I've been focused on. So story, it's kind of could be a bigger topic or it could break it down. And it really has to do with this competition between the World Series of Poker and the World Poker Tour, and now sort of the other brands that are getting into that conversation in 2024 compared to what it used to be when it was only poker. I remember me and you at beginning of this, it was Poker Stars and that was it. And now there's so many more brands, there's so many more events, there's so many more live streams, and really the way that the content meta and event meta in poker is now is completely different than it used to be. So I'd say, maybe if you want to go more micro into that, it was the GGPoker buying the World Series of Poker for $500 million, basically acquiring one of the most legendary intellectual properties of all time. The WSOP is a brand that's been around since the 60s, since the 70s, since Doyle Brunson and 8 friends came out here to Vegas and started the WSOP. It built up. It got the ESPN a real kickstart, and once ESPN got a hold of it and they put a lot of money behind it, that really took it to another level. And then after Black Friday, the WSOP, I'd say we saw a maybe less of investment in the WSOP as time went on, and they've had the same strategy for a long time. Seems to be very successful for them. Obviously, it's built them a $500 million asset. And then GGPoker kind of coming onto the scene when it came onto the scene in 2016, 2015, 2017 time period. And then it used a strategy at a time everyone thought online poker was, Poker Stars is like quitting, there's no money in it, it's dead, like who cares? And GGPoker came on the scene and they said, well, what if we invest in good technology? What if we invest in good events? What if we invest in good influencers? What if we invest in good marketing, good promotions, and design poker how we want poker to be and how we sort of see the vision of poker? And there were some doubts about that, and I guess you could say they've proven those doubters wrong, and now they've gone on to get themselves in a position where they're going for, total poker domination. If you're going to buy the biggest brand of all time, the World Series of Poker, $500 million. And I think the impact on poker that this is going to have in the future is potentially massive because the WSOP has really lacked innovation in a few different areas, and they have this giant of an IP that they own, the WSOP, and I think a lot of people in the industry felt like they could have been doing more with it. They could have been having bigger events. They could have been even getting more attention. And GGPoker, from meeting with them and knowing them, I know that they've got a vision where they want to put on these events. They want to attract this attention, and they want to figure out what they can do with the WSOP. So to me, that's one of the biggest stories is WSOP, GGPoker, $500 million partnership. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, so a couple of different things there. I view WSOP versus WPT as separate. I don't know if you're trying to kind of throw that in there. I view that as
no. I'd say that is separate. So that's why okay. Let's kind of like focus on.
You're talking GG buying WSOP is your number 2.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I do think WPT versus WSOP is a different story, and that's going to be one of my stories. So I guess I kind of ruined that. But yeah, let's focus on this one being WSOP GG specifically, because I think that partnership to me and that story to me is I mean, that's like going to create the next version of what poker is going to look like. And we already saw that with the Bahama event. We saw the partnership with Triton. We saw the partnership with, with the WSOP at a bigger level and, putting more into that event, bringing the bigger players down there, putting on the super main event, putting on that Triton Million kind of style event. And I don't know. I think that they're really onto something with a few ideas they got going on. Yeah.
Yeah, so a couple things on that. There have definitely been bigger purchases in poker than this. And when Amaya bought Poker Stars, I want to say it was $5 billion. Maybe it was
true. 4.2 billion or something like that.
It was in that range. Yeah. So this is definitely not the biggest ever. It's considerably smaller than that deal. And then I also think that WSOP, while it is a very iconic brand, the actual value of the company is less than people imagine because, again, it is a tournament series. They have a couple very small online platforms, but they really don't get that much volume there. So it comes down to how much money can they make as a brick and mortar tournament series, which is, I mean, they do good. I mean, it was still worth 500 million, at least to GG. So I'm not saying that it's a small company, but I don't think that it is necessarily a total game changer. When I looked at that story, I had it ranked a little bit lower, and there's a couple reasons. I think in terms of impact on poker, it's big. Mm-hmm. Because now you have the biggest online site partnering, or not partnering, purchasing the largest tournament series. And so the synergy of those two things where you now have the databases for both entities, you have the ability to cross promote, you have the ability to funnel people into those tournaments from your own platforms abroad. You basically get this synergistic effect where you have a much larger player pool now for liquidity. And in poker, liquidity tends to breed more liquidity, and it tends to be a fairly winner-take-all. I mean, you look at GGPoker online today, they have established a real dominance at the #1 spot, and historically, there's always kind of been a dominant player. It was Poker Stars for many years, and then they kind of ran into the ground, and GGPoker has since picked up the torch. But there's usually a kind of dominant winner-take-all type of player in that industry compared to most, because if you're a poker player, you want to go where the games are. Mm-hmm. If I'm looking at different sites, maybe I'm going to consider, what the rake is like. Maybe I'm going to consider, am I getting banned from that site? We'll maybe get to that story a little bit later on today. But the point is,
don't want that.
This is a huge purchase. It's very impactful, but in terms of the reach of that story and how captivating it is and how much people thought about it, I didn't have very many conversations about it. People were like, oh, that's interesting. But then people are like, so what's that mean? And everyone's like, well, I don't really know.
Right.
Because what it doesn't really mean. And so I guess my question back to you would be, if you're going to go with it as your #2 biggest story, what does it mean? Why? I'm not necessarily saying you're wrong, but what about it makes it so important to be the second biggest story of the year?
Yeah, what it means, that's pretty interesting. I think that the WSOP is in a position where in poker, and this is kind of like a bigger thesis of mine, is the poker boom 3.0 is here. We just don't, we can see it in some ways, and we see it with all of these new content creators who are getting millions of views, and they're getting all these followers on Instagram and on TikTok. And I see that there's a lot of these big crypto poker sites that have a lot of players, and there's a lot of communities that are playing, and there's a lot of people that their norm now is these app sites that aren't necessarily in a bigger picture conversation in terms of, there's the poker mainstream culture. There's always a big site, like you said, where there's GG and there's Poker Stars in the past, maybe Full Tilt before. Full Tilt Poker Stars competed. I feel like now it's just such more fragmented, and there's so many more places to play, and people have just gotten accustomed to playing in all these different places and sending money to random fucking people that they don't know. And it's the expectation from the players has changed. And, I think the WSOP is, they're kind of like painting a new picture for this next generation of what's going to be. And I think that the new team versus the old team are very different people. The old, they retained a few of the traditional WSOP team, but the WSOP team, from my understanding, has been like 7 people. So if you go from 7 people to now you have, maybe there was more, but the last conversation I had, I think that's what he said. He's like, we had a small team. Like we don't, that's our strategy. So, and it makes sense why they don't do more with social media. And it makes sense why they don't do more with building new shows or building new IP off of the existing brand, which I think GGPoker has a lot more experience in. So GGPoker bringing in a real money investment. And now with WSOP, you're able to get partnerships with companies like ESPN, companies like Netflix, companies that are some of the biggest distributors of sports or content in the world. And then once you get a partnership like that is how you can help elevate poker back to the level that I think eventually it's going to get at, where it is relevant in the mainstream culture and it becomes something that is discussed up there, maybe not the same wavelength as NBA or UFC or whatever, but you need your show to be on those networks for those networks to start talking about you, and certain networks dictate what the culture is. And then there's a whole network built out of content creators who all talk about whatever is going on there. So for me, that's something that poker has really been missing for a long time, and we were never going to get that with the old WSOP. So you really need a new person who's the business development people who are going out there as a visionary to go meet with the companies and to say, hey, let's do this and let's think about it this way and let's present it this way. And GGPoker basically built their entire, a lot of their poker strategy for their online site was to partner with the WSOP and then use that brand to run all these big events and then say, hey, we got the WSOP, we got the sickest events, you can win bracelets. Like this means, and that means something to a lot of people all around the world. And so in terms of, I guess it's a good point, right? In terms of what makes it the bigger, it is maybe not interesting to a lot of people, and it's not something people really think about. For me personally, I've been waiting for something like this to happen for a long time, because now it's inspired a lot of other investors to get into poker. New owners came and bought Coin Poker. New people are invested in online poker. There's a lot more buzz. There's a lot more companies understanding like, okay, well, maybe we should make a move here. Maybe we should do something. So I think it's going to be like this things that really inspires a lot of people all around the poker world to invest in their own ideas and to really build something for the community and for players and for people that people love. And I think that's where we're at with things now, is we're waiting for that sort of like poker boom 3.0 to happen. And I feel like this is a big catalyst behind how that happens. So for me, that's why I think about that.
So do you think though, maybe like the way I look at this is a little different, right? So you have fewer and fewer players in poker owning more and more of the market. And so if you want to go in and do something, you want to go out there and do something, you're facing juggernauts instead of, smaller parties. So the way I view this is, you're not in monopoly status here, but you're marching towards it. And typically when you don't have competitors, it's bad for the consumer. Now, luckily there is a big competition going on with WPT and WSOP, WPT, GG, however you want to look at it right now. So that is good for the consumer, as we're seeing, with what happened in December. But I think that it would be cool if GG can get ESPN back to the table, because losing ESPN was a really big blow for the WSOP. And it could be really cool if they figure out other big partnerships that, help build it. But the thing is, WSOP is already so big and it's growing so fast anyway. These events are getting bigger and bigger and bigger every year. So I feel like the brand was in like a pretty good place before anyway. My concerns would be like, is Rick going to become outrageous? Is the skill part of the game going to become less and less? Are winning players going to maybe one day not be allowed to play in some tournaments? There's a whole world of issues that could come into play now as you look at some of the policies that have been put into place with GG, and will those cross over to the World Series of Poker, that I find it mildly concerning. Like overall the story, I'd say it's mildly concerning. It could go a great direction. It could be, that was great for poker and it built into something awesome. But I also would not be shocked if in 8 years, people that have won a certain amount of money can't play certain events, or all kinds of negative. It's not impossible.
True. That's a really good concern, because Obviously, we saw that with GG in the past where they've done these high rake issues and they sort of try to find that line where the players consent to say, okay, we'll take, they keep pushing until the players won't take it anymore, and they try to find a happy medium. And, we have seen that recent change at high stakes going from more public to private and to basically, which we can talk more about that later. I'm sure it's going to be in one of your topics, but, it is worrying, right? As a player, it would be. I'm not a big WSOP player. I don't really now. I guess now I'm a tournament player, so now of course I'm thinking about playing some more WSOP events. And of course, as a player, what do we want? We want less rake. We want to win money. We want safe games, and we want to know that we're, not even necessarily being taken care of. We just want to know that we can have a fair chance to win. And rake's obviously a big issue. So, that's something that's a good point. And I guess. What do you do about that? I mean, if you're the player, all you can do is advocate for the other side. But if you're GG and that, hey, I can just charge more fees and people are still going to come, and I got the WSOP, then why wouldn't they want to do something like that? I mean maybe
let's look at it Joey. Let's look at it objectively, right? You're GGPoker. You just spent $500 million in a company, and people love this company, and they will fly out from wherever. And you're like, yeah, let's just raise the fees by 10%.
Yeah, true.
Like, if you think that wouldn't impact volume, you can make 10% more money. You have to spend so much to purchase this asset. Why wouldn't you do it? I mean, this is the business side, right? It's it's cold like that.
This is what we saw with Poker Stars, right? When Bezos came in and he brought in Blackstone, or he brought in his $3 billion or $4 billion, however much he bought it for. They start looking at the numbers and saying, how do we make more money out of this? How do we figure out how to get back our investment? I mean, we gotta let's increase profits. So they come in like that, and. I feel like this is like deja vu, because now we got to say, okay, well, who are the ambassadors that are leading the way for GG? Who are the influential people at GG that you could talk to, that you could try to advocate to? And we got Daniel Negreanu up there as that main ambassador. And, so you would say, hey, Daniel, I mean, he plays these games, right? So before, when it came to cash games, the guy really wasn't in the cash game world. So we're all complaining about rake or complaining about rewards for cash games. He's more of a live player. He doesn't really an online player. Now it's come into his arena, which is the live cash game, live tournament world. So in the live tournament world, I think that obviously a lot of those guys, they don't want to pay more rake. They want to pay less rake. So it could be interesting to see what that dynamic is if they're going to start raising fees at WSOP, which is one of the first changes I imagine we're going to see, is they're going to invest more money into the WSOP, and then they're going to have justifications for why they're doing it. They're going to do big promotions. They're going to probably bring more fun players there. So there are some, I can imagine, pros they're going to bring to the table while they're also bringing the rake. So, it's easy for them to potentially spin this and say, hey, for this extra fee, you're getting these extra services, or you're getting this extra player pool. You know what I mean? So it's more of like a perception-based thing at the next point in time, which we saw with Poker Stars, where they didn't communicate a lot of their changes well, and then everybody was like, fuck these guys, we're not going there anymore. So GG potentially runs that risk of doing that, because they're outside the USA. USA people don't really know how GG's moving, they see. So
that's not exactly in my mind why Poker Stars got run kind of into the ground. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that went into that. GGPoker pretty aggressively was in gray markets and or black markets using club models. And they used that to get a bunch of people to sign up that, could really debate the ethics and the legality of that. And then there was also mismanagement at Amaya for sure. They treated poker like it was slots. They did a bunch of stuff that was not cool. They raised rates. But typically speaking, poker players are less price sensitive than you would imagine. They're more game selection sensitive. So if GG comes out and says, we're raising 10% rake, the WSOP, what are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do about it? If you're a tournament player, you're gonna go play. Anyway, let's move on stories here. We definitely broke that one down. Joey, you now also have the third selection in the 2024 poker draft. Who are you taking?
Listen, I'm gonna go the unmasking. I mean, this has been a long story of mine. I've been covering this story for 6 or 7 years. I spent maybe a year or two of my life just talking about this story every day. And we finally got the big reveal, and we got the reporter went to Siberia. Listen, Doug, I got so much respect.
Where is this going? I have no idea where we're going.
The reporter went to Siberia, or he went to somewhere, an undisclosed Eastern European location, interview some of the biggest winners in online poker history. And that is the Russian bot farm corporation story that was in Bloomberg. I thought, very few people understand what that story's saying. I think that is the biggest story of the year, actually, one of the biggest stories of the year, because the impact that this had on poker. I mean, listen, Doug, we celebrate the biggest winners. We celebrate the guys taking out the money. We celebrate their skill. We celebrate their strategy. And these guys were just doing their own thing. I mean, these apparently, Russian bot farm corporation story, if people didn't read it in Bloomberg, it was basically these group of engineers. I don't know what you want to call these guys, right? They're building software, they're running bots, they're making programs. And they said they've been running bots since like 2010 at the highest stakes. And the story was about how their operation evolved to, they created this platform where basically they could just give it out. You could have as many accounts as you wanted to, theoretically. And the platform has a brain, and the brain communicates with the other accounts in the game, and they're able to work together to know what everybody has, right? And so what was happening was people were able to put 4 accounts in a game, 5 accounts in a game, 3 accounts in a game, 2 accounts in a game, and pretty much any number of accounts you want to put in a game. So now if you're trying to create a poker site, you're able to have this 24/7 liquidity with accounts that you're in charge of, and you're able to fine tune them depending on, what you have access to. You're able to fine tune them. You're able to at least have a high level player. So now you have 3 accounts taking money out of the game. You have the rake, so now it allowed people to apparently do this. This was a huge thing. And this article was breaking down what that process was like, how they communicated with the buyers, how they communicated with the forums. And there was the insiders who came out, and I guess they leaked some information about what was really happening. And I really thought this was a conspiracy theory. I didn't know, I was like, okay, once I found out more, I didn't find out this much detail, but in my research, I found out that, hey, on certain sites, it's all bots. I mean, you guys, they pretend to be a different player. Like there's these inputs you can use as the software creator where you can make your account do and say and play however you want it to play. So this article was basically this group's evolution from the brain to more where they're at now, which is something called D-Play, where they're able to work with you as a poker room to provide you liquidity, where you're able to have customized accounts in your game 24/7 to create whatever kind of environment you want. And apparently this is a very popular strategy in clubs and in other poker platforms. And maybe, Doug, has been a strategy poker sites have been using on us for years, and we thought that we were playing this human game. And this article was basically talking about how these guys were making tens of millions of dollars, licensed out their software. They were taking a fee from people, and they were it's like a normal business for these guys in Russia, basically, is what it seemed like the article was making out to believe. And then the final part was they're here to say poker, Doug. And they put out the whiteboard, they gave a presentation, and they said, we're here to say poker. We realized that players, they don't want to lose all their money fast. They want to have a good time. We got the bots. We're going to give them the bots, and we're going to create a new version of poker, was sort of like my takeaway from that article. So I thought, to me, that was the craziest thing I've ever read. Like, these guys are just coming out saying, hey, we were basically running multi-accounting and for years and selling our multi-accounting software, and we made all the money, and this is king of the hill, bitch, and you guys didn't win. So that's kind of my takeaway from that. What do you think about that one story, Doug?
Wow. You had a story as the number 3 pick that I did not have on my board, which is pretty surprising. I didn't know about this until right now. So it's kind of hard. I was looking at it, but you have to subscribe to Bloomberg, so I don't know if I'm ever going to find out what really happened here. But yeah. I will say that bots as an issue have certainly been one of the top stories for online poker over the last several years. And as it becomes easier and easier for people to cheat, which we are now seeing with openly pitching RTA on Reddit, is like some of these ads that we're seeing. It's not surprising to me that there have been people that have been doing this at a high level with certain evasion techniques to make sure they're not getting caught by sites, and or maybe even being employed by sites, which that's a pretty scary part of that in my mind, because we all know that there's a lot of bots in online poker. We all know that people are incentivized to try and cheat because they can make money using software. But if sites are actually working with the player, working with these bots to create player experiences where people are going to lose at whatever rate. That's just fucked up. So
Yeah,
I think
it's
it's
crazy. That's what I said.
Is there proof that sites have been doing this, or is it just like allegations, or what?
So in this article specifically, and obviously there's some allegations, and there's some, there's what is proof? I guess these days, right? You got to talk to the person, you got to see the text messages, you got to read the chat logs. So everyone's got their own version of what that proof's going to be. This article specifically had some interaction from, I guess, the background from the actual forums where they were talking about the different strategies and people that they work with. So there were, according to this, actual platforms that exist now. I don't want to know the specific names of them, but because there's some allegations going back and forth. I don't know what's confirmed with that or not. It's hard to know what's reality here. It's hard to know what is what's not real here. So we don't really know exactly which ones confirmed have been doing that. And that's kind of the, at the end of the day, I got a lot of questions. That was what I left with that. I'm like, I want to go to Siberia now and interview these guys myself, because I got a lot of questions. And if they want to do some media, like, I'd love to ask them some questions to figure out, like, what's the deal here? Like, who are you guys working with? Is it something like, what's going on here? Because our impression of online poker was that the operator was the person who was making a safe game. And now if the operator is partnering with the bots to make the game, I mean, it's not really what a lot of people are signing up for when it comes to online poker. Maybe that's the reality. I've kind of just stayed away from wanting to put my energy into playing online poker for money, because to me, it's like, the operator is the person you got to watch out for the most in terms of being able to win and lose. So, yeah.
See out on stories once there's like, and then maybe this is happening, and then they're in cahoots, and like, I'm like, how there are conspiracy people?
Yeah.
I am like the exact opposite, because conspiracies mean that people would have had to not tell other people, and people are horrible at that. So like, if it's a 1-person thing or a 5-person thing, maybe. But when it's like we need 50 people to be in on something, I'm just not. People just leak too much. So, but I definitely believe that there have been massive bot rings running online. I mean, there's been pretty well documented evidence of that. And maybe these Russian guys in Siberia were behind some of the ACR bots. Who knows? These guys.
Well, I guess my main thing I saw from that article was that these guys have real-time software they just use anyway, right? It could be, it could be a bot, but they just have. It could just be one account. It could be playing. I mean, there's a whole meta. I just had the club WPT Gold head of security, the A5 Labs. They partnered with this company, A5 Labs. I had the head of security and the main designer on, one of the main founders, who's got a big tech background, came out of Stanford, and he went deep into how this works, and he went deep into what's possible. And basically anything's possible. Like, some of these people out there have the best bots. They're the best players. Like, they can evade detection. They can go anywhere. They can do. There's all these. It's been going on and being developed for 15 years in the background, and it's been what's already existed for a long time. It's just that this article really brought it to the So I can see what you're saying. You're busy in Texas. You're trying to have a card room in every city in Texas, right? Or you're trying to figure that out. So I think this story is a little bit. And I didn't see many people talk about the story either. So it's a hard story to understand. It was behind a paywall. So I get it. But yeah, let's move on. What do you got? What do you got for number 4? What do you?
Okay. So, with the 4th pick in the 2024 poker draft, there were a lot of good ones here. I'm gonna go with one that you mentioned briefly, because I do think it was actually my second biggest story, but I think the WSOP versus WPT December showdown. We could make this story WPT, WSOP in general.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. But in particular, this December showdown that we're witnessing is absurd. It is a gigantic story, and it is forcing people to take sides, because for whatever reason, as I understand it, WPT decided to do a big annual series at the Wynn in Vegas, and then from the rafters, WSOP leaps in with a bigger series in the Bahamas right on top of it. And it's been 2 straight years of this. So there are all kinds of questions that I have about this. I mean, to start off with, you'd think that I would say it's pretty safe to say that those 2 series at the same time in December are the second and third biggest series of the year for poker, outside of the World Series of Poker.
Okay.
You would imagine they could have potentially found different times and do them at the exact same time. So very clearly, this was an attempt from WSOP, from GGPoker, to put the smack down on WPT and try and prevent whatever momentum, whatever live series, whatever online, passports, whatever online poker platforms they've got brewing. We're going to put our foot right in your neck, and we're going to try and make it so that we all lose money during this period of time in December. So what goes into that? I mean, to start off with, you had some gigantic overlays last year. And then this year, 2023. In 2024, we saw WPT remove their guarantee on their main event. Probably smart to do. But WSOP kept their guarantee on their main event. I think they overlaid slightly. And the way that they do theirs is a little bit weird. They have tons of online qualifiers. So the way it kind of shakes out, WSOP Bahamas, more high rollers, more international, bigger prize pools, generally speaking, higher guarantees. And then WPT in Vegas, more US based, a lot more lower stakes focus, some still bigger tournaments, bigger events, bigger streams, stuff like that. But two gigantic events, obviously. The question in my mind, why are they going to war on these dates? Like when WSOP saw the WPT dates, is it really that important to them that WPT doesn't get to have like one big, really successful series? Like, why not just like do it at any other point? Yeah. I don't really understand. Like what's the thinking there? But anyway, going back to the story at top level.
Okay.
The markets are consolidating. The players are getting bigger. WPT is going after the U.S. market. GGPoker is going after WSOP, purchasing this asset. They're both getting ready to go to war, and we're going to see this battle play out. It started in the last couple of years, and we're going to see this continue to escalate, in my opinion, over the course of the next few years.
Yeah, big story. I mean, listen, I could argue you could put that number 1, you could put that number 2. And I'm actually impressed by your understanding. I'm impressed how well you understand some of these stories, because I thought you may have been in Texas. Like I never know. I'm like, is this guy paying attention to what's happening with the big players? Because you're spot on. I mean, I think I worked on that first event with the WPT because it was at the Wynn. It's at one of my favorite card rooms in the world. And I knew if they're going to do a big event at the Wynn does things on a different level. I mean, these guys are one of the best companies in Vegas. If they're going to really do a big event, they're going to try to make it something that people actually enjoy, people want to go to, people love being at. So I worked on that first event. I did some content around it. I played the main event, and I got to see firsthand that made so much buzz that the next year WSOP was like, you know what? We cannot, because they're in a competition, right? They don't want, I mean, they want to be the main, it seems like they want to be the main attention. They want to be the lead player. They want to dictate the culture. They want to dictate what's relevant, and they want to dictate who the top dog is and what the top events are. And they got to keep competing for that. And now the WPT, when they had a new company come in and purchase the company, and now they put a different vision into the marketing and a different vision into the events and different vision into the overall strategy of what they want to do. So, WSOP was like, we cannot let them get another year of this, because if that event starts to get momentum and it becomes this December event where all of our players are going to go to, and they're going to play, and they're going to be promoting, and they're going to be marketing, and they're going to basically be boosting up the relevancy of this event, and we got to stop that. So that's what they decided was they're going to do. Last year they started this paradise concept, and I think that any event, Bahamas gets a bad rap because PokerStars had it great at the beginning, and then over time people were like, this is expensive, this sucks, we don't want to go there. Like, I personally loved it, but one year I went and someone said, can you believe it, we're at this hell on earth playing poker? And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, it was like 95 degrees outside. Like, it's like super cold and shit. I was like, what are these tournament players' problems? These guys got a problem. They love I mean, whatever is what it is, right? Not everybody is that way.
Well, imagine losing 90% of the time you play.
True. I mean, listen, I empathize with that. Okay, it sucks. I agree. If you're downswinging, everywhere sucks. And then it went away. The event went away. And now GG's like, hey, why don't we just bring a great event back there? Everyone is going to, if they can do it right, I think people are going to love it. The first year had some momentum. They got a positive signal. And then this year they decided to really reinvest in that event. They decided to invest more in partnerships. They decided to bring in Trident Poker, who's been having a lot of momentum. And they went with, you mentioned they went with a different strategy for their offering. WPT went with the smaller stakes offering. I'd say like there was like 500s, it felt like, up to like 10K, and maybe there was like 125K. But WSOP basically went the other way, where they're doing 500Ks, 100K PLO table. You know, it's just like their events were like 5K up, 10K up, 25K up, which is going to cater to a very different type of player, which is, you know, a lot of the most successful players are high stakes players, the most well-known players, like, you know, and then they came up with this super main event concept, which I think is a very sick concept, where you make it an even bigger buy-in, because 10K, you know, 25K, perfect. You put a huge guarantee on it. You put that guarantee out there. They invited a bunch of celebs. They invited Tony Parker. They invited Colby Covington. I saw down there, right? So they're trying to get some new fresh blood into that mix, and it seemed like it really worked because they got a lot of the big players down there, and their plan, it seemed to me, worked in that it did kill a lot of the buzz that WPT had, where it went from one year it was the only thing people were talking about to this year people were only talking about what they were getting paid to talk about, and people were getting talked about. You know, there's like this blood. I mean, now it's kind of like they're going head on. So everyone's what's gonna happen? You know, it's kind of the interesting challenge. And now, as you mentioned, with the club WPT Gold, they are launching the sweepstakes poker site in America, which means that they're going to be able to, if they're making money from that, then they're going to be able to be investing that money in marketing and promotions and content, and they're going to be able to get a lot of attention and have a place that they can send the Americans to go participate in poker events, not only live, but online. So now WSOP needs to respond. They're going to come up with their own strategy to come up against that. And we saw innovation for WPT, where they had this big free roll. They gave back to the players. They created, you know, an event that in poker, very few times do we ever get anything for free. I mean, very rarely does anyone want to give you anything and treat you with respect in this industry. And I think now people got to start being treated with respect as the players.
Random bang on people in the industry there.
Well, listen, I mean, come on. A lot of people don't like poker players that they're just burnt out. Like everybody goes through that phase where you're over your shit. You don't want to, you know, like you stop putting in that love. You stop putting in that joy. You stop looking at the player as someone that you want to give a great experience to. And you start looking at the player as, you know, a number. You start looking at the player as like, oh, I just got to keep doing this because this is my job. And, you know, I've gone through that phase before in my career where I had that mindset, and it wasn't, you know, how do I treat these guys with respect? It was like, fuck this, you know, like I'm over this. I don't want to do this anymore. And I think a lot of people I've been meeting, I think a lot of people that are still around typically have a more positive mindset now. If you're doing this in 2024, like, you know, you usually like the players, but I think we went through a period of time where that wasn't the case. And, you know, worked with a lot of these companies. So I got to see firsthand how people thought about that. And I don't know, a lot of random thoughts. What do you think, Doug?
So I want to just say, for one moment on the passport thing, because I had that free roll as a separate story, but really I think that's under this battle because it's a big part of it. I think that was an incredible idea, and I think the idea that you're going to bring in that number of people to just come play a tournament for that much money, and how that fuels the rest of the ecosystem, was just a brilliant idea. It remains to be seen if it's going to make them money. I know they're trying to build up everyone for this WPT passport sweepstakes poker thing, but to see stuff like that, I think it's incredibly cool. It's approachable. It brings in people that otherwise could never do it. And I mean, you know, as great as the super high stakes stuff is, I think making stuff approachable for people that want to play poker and either can do it for free, or, I mean, so many people won passports. It was like, it ended up being 1,500 people won passports. And I know some of those people, they were mainly people that play really small stake stuff, and they went and got to play for millions of dollars in Vegas. So I think it's incredibly cool. I know that it wasn't very popular, but that misery bounty for 000,000 I thought was hilarious, absolutely hilarious. I recognize I'm in the minority on that. People think it's kind of cruel, it's mean, whatever. It's a free roll, guys, and they're already in the money, and they've already made a bunch of money. I think crying over this person that's only going to win 100K, but like he got that thing, or 50K or whatever he ended up winning. The point is, like, it's an awesome event. They're doing a lot of cool stuff. They're very creative people. I'm a little more close with the WPT guys and WSOP guys, but regardless, I just think that they have a lot of cool ideas there. All right, I'm going to move on to my next story here. Just we can keep this moving. So with the number 5 selection in the 2024 poker draft, this is where things started to get a little tight. Okay. Started to kind of get close. I could have gone a few different ways. I saw a few different opportunities, a few different stories I thought were important. But I'm going to go ahead and go with the rise of software training tools. There's a lot of parts underneath that. to start off with, I'm going to say like it's a little bit of a subsection of what happened at the WSOP main event final table, sure. But there have been so many people getting into the software space. You see Octopi Poker with Lucky Chewy. We see Jonathan Little basically doing their complete ripoff of GTO Wizard. We see GTO Wizard doing all their different features. You know, we have Lucid Poker. We've got the DTO thing. We have so many different companies that are all entering the software training space, realizing that there is a big opportunity here, and taking a step back. As software develops, as it gets more advanced, these products will get better, these products will get more advanced, and then the ability that people are going to be able to use them to improve is going to become higher. Mm-hmm. So I think that the poker training market as a whole is going to continue to grow over the course of the next 5 to 10 years. I think poker is going to continue to grow, but I think it's going to become disproportionately in software-based solutions over traditional training, which is one of the reasons we've been investing in Lucid so much. Instead of like the classic poker training stuff, we're trying to do both with Upswing. But the point of the matter is this: I think like how aggressive it's getting in that game, and how aggressive these ads are getting. I mean, Joey, you log on to Reddit, and there's just an ad that says, "Want to win money at poker? Use real-time assistance now," and it's just like a link to a site to cheat. I mean, we're entering completely unprecedented territory on how easy it is to cheat. In order to cheat nowadays, what you have to have is a credit card. That's where we're at. You have to have a credit card. If you can do that, you can cheat. So I think that software security or site security has never been more important. I think that the ability to cheat has never been easier. I think online poker is headed for a really dark place. And I think these software training tools are only going to become more and more prevalent. And it's going to begin to ask a lot of really important questions about what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, what are we okay with, what should be okay, and what is going to happen with how this plays out in the online poker world. Because at the end of the day, if it's this easy to cheat, it's going to kill online poker straight up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's a huge story. It's a big story. I mean, what are your kind of your, you know, I guess that makes it, I feel like it's been this way since like for 10 years though. Like to me, this is my impression of online poker for a long time. I think it's starting to get more known through this different articles and stuff like that this is going on. But I mean, a lot of smart people have known this is exactly what's been happening for a very long time. And people have figured out ways to still win and figured out ways to still beat it. And they figured out that they got to play in the right game and they got to understand game selection is more important than ever. And who's hosting your game is more important than ever. Like I said, are they treating you with respect as a host? Are they disrespecting you as the host? How are they disrespecting you as a host? They're bringing in their own dealer. They're staking 6 players in the game. The game's not set up for you to win in the game. Are they trying to create a game where you can win? You know, at the end of the day, that's really what matters. And nowadays, you got to ask yourself, who is policing my game? Who is the security of my game? Who are the people that are in charge of making sure battling the bots? I mean, you're on a battle with the software. You got the detection team and you got the evaders, and the evaders are going to try to figure out always, how do I get around the latest detection team? And like you said, back in the day, to get a bot, you didn't know where to go. I didn't know where to get bots at. So if you say like a good bot, I didn't even know, like the common conspiracy was that good bots really don't exist like that. And it would be really hard to make a good bot that can beat multi-way, and that could be, and you know, obviously it's like, okay, well, they probably exist. They have to exist, right? Of course, someone's got bots, but unless you really are in that world, like you don't really know. So even me, I'm investing in a lot of software now. So I've been learning more how this works, and I'm learning that, like, you know, it's pretty easy to build software, and then if you create the game, then you can also create the bots alongside of it. And it's like just not a, you know, it's a real easy process to do if you really want to do it. And if you're motivated to do it, the only thing stopping you is your desire to make more money. I mean, there's no accountability, there's no oversight, there's no regulation. And we've seen the regulated market grow slowly. So, I mean, that's a potential solution to what we're talking about here is you have to have a oversight where if you're caught doing this on a regulated poker site, then there's some sort of accountability that actually happens to the person. Right now, if you are running 3 liquidity bots on your Club GG app, then there is no like nobody know, you know, a guy makes a 2+2 post, and then that's, you know, there is no corruption. There is nothing that happens that comes out of that. So it's like more and more people are aware of this. Like you said, more and more people are knowing that this is a very easy strategy to use if they don't want to play fair. So never been, like you said, it's on Reddit now. I mean, what's going on?
So
Like, what's happening to poker? I don't know. I don't know, Doug. Like, what is that? What's going on here?
I know 10 years ago there were bots, Joey. I know because I watched your content. So I know that there have been bots for a long time, but we got to point out the difference. Like 10 years ago, I was playing the highest stakes heads up, and I had never used a solver, and I was like the best player. Think about that.
Yeah.
And then 5 years later, people started to use solvers more commercially available. And now 5 years from there, all you have to do is know how to find Reddit and have a credit card. Like the bar for someone to be able to cheat is so insanely low. And there are so many programs that you could use in theory to cheat. I mean, look, like in theory, someone could use UTO Wizard, someone could use Lucid, someone could use whatever trainer out there or whatever program to cheat. You just like put it in like this action, and you're there, and you have it on a different device. Like in order to catch cheaters now, you have to be so incredibly talented with the detection side. And even then, the people can cheat in a way where they cheat in just some select spots occasionally. It becomes very hard to test. We are in a really dark place for online poker and for protecting the games with how easy it is. I mean, running Reddit ads, cheat now.
I mean, how good is that? I mean, Art, how good is that one? Like, I feel like, so I just did an interview with the heads of security at A5 Labs, which they did WPT Global. They're doing Club WPT Gold. They work with other people as well. So, and I asked, this is what they're the ones that are doing this. So I think that I tried to get some answers because I was wondering this for years, like what's the reality here? Like how hard is this to do? How easy it is to do? What's your detection strategy? What's your banning strategy? Like, how are you going to combat this very growing problem? Like you said, and I think, I guess that interview is going to come out soon, so you'll be able to hear what they got to say. But that's from my viewpoint is I want to talk to the people who are in charge. I want to talk to the people who are doing the security. I want to find out what's your strategy for battling against these people. And then at the end of the day, you want to play in the games and you want to feel like you're playing in fair games that are real people and people that So, I think that's just more important than ever to do that. But obviously it's really easy. There's so many poker sites these days because it's so easy to start a platform. And with crypto, you can take anybody's money. So the rules and the regulations are, they're lacking behind in online poker. So online poker is just developed into this like wild, wild west where anyone has an app, anyone has a game now. Anybody could do a game, anyone could do crypto. And then now everyone knows that they can put the software into your game. Before you had to find people, now they put the software in. It kind of replaces a big problem. This is like PokerStar's dream back in the day to just get rid of all the winners and put in the bot. I mean, this is like the solution to that problem that PokerStars had was like, how do we get the winners off the site? Well, we got to, figure this out. Let's just phase them out and put in these guys. And, I don't know, PokerStar, I think PokerStar's doing a lot of good things. Like we know their story, but so, yeah, I mean, I think it's more important than ever, man, that you're on top of your security and you're building strategies and you're hiring the right people. And that's sort of the 2025 state that we're at is what's going to happen. We're going to find out. But it seems like some sites, I mean, GGPoker seems like they've been able to do that. PokerStars seems like they've been able to do that.
I mean, really, like, do you actually know that they have? Because how do we know that for real?
We don't know. I mean,
here's my prediction, Joey.
Yeah.
2030, if we're not already there, by 2030, the vast majority of winners online are going to be cheating. The question is going to be, are you going to get cheated? Or are you going to cheat? Or are you going to not play?
Okay. So that was a specific question I asked myself back in 2018 after I learned about this. That's why I stopped playing poker online for money unless I played in a very small group of people who I thought I knew and I thought I could trust, because that's what it turned out online poker was that you'd have these people working in stables. You'd have these people working with all this software, and they were just using strategies that was normal. That was normal. That was a normal strategy for a lot of people. And, so it's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to keep playing, or are you going to go do something else? And that's why I was like, let me learn content. Let me learn crypto. Let me learn a bunch of other shit that might be relevant to me one day, because I think investing my time as a player is over. And that's why I stopped investing my time in online poker as a player, because I was like, okay, well, you either got to be, you can't, it's not like it used to be where you can just play and you can just win and you could just know you're up against real players and some people are good and some people are bad. Now it's a whole other song and dance. And it's like, people have figured it out and people have still gotten good, and some people are making millions of dollars, and, you know, maybe I was a little bit too pessimistic, and maybe now the options are a lot more abundant, but the options back then were not many. That the game has totally changed now with the crypto, and there are, like I said, hundreds of places to play. It's never been easier to find a game, find a place to play, find a club to play. You know, it's really like a paradise if you know how to navigate that world. But for a lot of people, they don't know how to navigate that world. They're getting taken advantage of. They're getting, you know, very abused. And that's the part I don't like to see, is all these players setting themselves up. You know, you get excited. You watch the WSOP. You watch a live stream. You watch Doug Polk play $1 million pot, and then you say, I want to go play. And then you go online to play. And where are you going to? You think you're going to a safe place, and you're not being respected by the person organizing the game, right? They're just using you as you're the liquidity, right? You're the fish. You're the.
We're going that direction.
I mean, listen, you know, we got to, let's like, you know, I don't know, that's what I mean is like, as the new player, there's so many new people getting into poker, but it's like they don't really have the. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's my perception. My perception is only mine. I'm in a different life now, living in the poker world. So, you know, everyone's got their own opinion about this. So, no, I think what you're saying is super big story. And I don't know. What do you think is what's the solution as the player, Doug? If I'm a player and I'm watching and I'm a new player and okay, online poker is great. Like everyone's promoting it. What do you do as a player? How do you protect yourself?
Well, and I think you use it as a place to learn, and then you also are very careful with where you choose to play. And I think the reality is that more and more winnings are going to come from live versus online. And just know that when you're playing online, you should be very wary of all of your opponents. On that note, let's move on to our next spot. Now, I've had both my selections. Back over to Joey with the number 6 selection in the 2024 Poker Story Draft. What do you got, Joey?
Number 6. So are we not? So I feel like the Club WPT Gold event specifically, I got a lot of thoughts about that because I was a big part of that event, or I was a part of the event. I gave away passports. I mean, I show up to the event, try to have a good time at the event. So I was following that event strategy very closely. And, you know, to me, that was a pretty big story. And in terms of like how they structured it, how they structured the giveaways, you know, it's a little more.
If you want to do that as a separate story, that's cool. Over
so, but I mean, I got a lot of options here, too. I'm kind of looking through my list here, too.
I just viewed that as kind of under the WSOP, WPT thing.
Yeah. And it kind of, and that's kind of the move, you know, it's the moves that people are making. That's kind of why the WPT versus WSOP has these like branches of different stories they've done, right? And I guess let's kind of, I'm gonna save that story for a bit, but let's talk about the high stakes story, the evolution of high stakes poker. GGPoker deciding to, and this was a big story in the, you know,
this was the next one on my board.
This was a big story. Yeah, I mean, listen, this you did a great video. I mean, I thought you did a great breakdown on this. I've been loving the breakdowns because I like go there. I'm trying to see your perspective. I love seeing your perspective on these stories. So. But this was the evolution of online poker, where it was GGPoker has basically been the main place that the high stakes players battled. And contrary to what me and you just talked about, there's a lot of players who are seemingly that love it. They love the public arena. They love that people are trying to cheat them, and they figured out ways to still win, and they figured out ways to make millions of dollars. And there's still, the poker dream is still alive in the online cash game world, just like it was when we came up. Tom Dwan isn't there. Now it's Linus Love. And now it's these people from Eastern Europe. And there's this whole meta that's evolved with people from all around the world who are still battling an online high stakes cash. And GGPoker came in and said, we're going to change that from public to private. And we're going to make it more of a club-based system where certain people can have a club, certain influencers can have a club, certain VIPs can have a club. You know, who knows, right? Maybe there's a private section of the app entirely. You don't even know games are going on there. But basically, we're going to not let you guys battle here, and we're going to make you guys only play up to 10-20. And then we're going to make it more private, where all the people that want to play those stakes got to go into a club, and they got to play with people that, you know, it's a different kind of environment, right? It's thought of as a meritocracy. It's thought of online poker as a place where if you had the skills and you had the chops and you were one of the best in the world, like you could go prove yourself against the other best in the world. And a result of you being able to hold your own at that table is now you reap the rewards of the liquidity that would come to the table through weaker regs and through the fun players and through, you know, your customers. They become your customers for your business at that point in time. So now GG has basically said, actually, you need to have a stream, or you need to have a following, or you need to have a player list, or you need to give us a certain rev share, or however they're going to do it. So they're restructuring what it means to be high stakes poker. And with that has come the reaction from the market where now Coin Poker started the Cash Game World Championships, and 888 Poker lowered their rake at high stakes. And now other people are saying, hey, people want to play these games. They want to battle. Let's build them some games. Let's build them some events. Let's turn this negative into a positive. And now the competition is underway where other people are creating their own high stakes ecosystem. And I think GGPoker is going to really end up dropping the ball here. And I think they're going to add back in these high stakes games because, it really doesn't make sense to remove the public arena altogether. If you got players that want to play, then you should let them play, in my opinion. But they've gone the other way where it's more private. I guess, Doug, what's about this story to you was on your list? I mean, what captivates you about it?
Yeah, so I'd phrase the top level slightly different, which is just the idea that it is now acceptable to ban professional players from playing in online poker sites, because that's pushing the envelope to a place that we've never been before. I did a video talking about this a little bit. I think there's a bit of a misunderstanding that regulars seem to think that poker operators hate to have pros in their games. That's not really true. I mean, I say that as someone that owns a part of 2 card rooms. I'm happy to have people that are good at poker playing in our games because sometimes they're your best customers. They're constantly playing. At the end of the day, like, we just want games to go, and if games are going, we're making money. I don't want all of the bad players to get killed immediately. So obviously you don't want to be like 7 sharks and 2 wrecks that are going to lose and then the games break. But from the operator perspective, you just want the most games going you can. So I don't think necessarily that this is a move that GGPoker loved to make. Now they might be thinking long term, we're protecting some of these recreational players, that we're going to get more games in the long run. But in the short run, you're definitely going to lose some liquidity. You're going to lose games going because you lose some of those players that play. I think this is more based around necessity. I think it's more based around, like, we have all these players that are really important, these higher stakes players that are really important. And we're in a really different place today with the private game culture than we were 10 years ago. The people that are going to lose money or are likely to lose money playing in high stakes games recognize that they get a lot of say about who they're going to lose to and in what environment they're going to play in. And if enough of those people say, I'm not going to play in here if I play with the Linus Loves, I'm just not going to do it. Like, this guy practices every day, he's studying all the time. And frankly, Joey, this is something that I understand now, because, like, for me, when I play poker, obviously I'm a good poker player, but I do not have the time or the bandwidth with a family and businesses and everything else I'm doing to be like, I'm going to be playing and studying around the clock. Like, I can't do that shit anymore. And so is it really that fair to go up against someone whose, like, career is studying every day? It's not. It's honestly not fair to do that. Like, you're going to get chopped up. So the point is, right or wrong, people that lose in these games have recognized that they have a lot of power and say in who they lose to. And if they won't play in that environment, then you're really in a situation that you're kind of stuck as an operator. And so I think, like, longer term, now this doesn't include casino options. I don't know all the casino stuff GGPoker might does. That could change the numbers immensely. So keep that in mind. But the point of the matter is, I think higher stakes games are going to end up going this direction just because it's what we're seeing in live poker, what we're seeing in online poker now. And if we really zoom out, why should people who just take from the system by being good and practicing and studying get to step in and make money off of the people that are just playing for fun, or who play professionally but they provide value? Like, for example, a lot of times there'll be a professional player in a game where they help organize the game. They might vouch money. They might have good friends they can bring in that make the game good. They are good with networking. Whatever it might be. They have a good place to play. There's a bunch of reasons you could have a player like that. But they provide value, where if you're just someone that comes in and wins, it's, I'm not saying whether this is fair or not. I'm just saying the reality of it. That player just getting to come in and win and having a right to that, I don't think that really makes sense. Like, big picture, I don't think that it makes sense. So if we want to have a world where everyone can battle it out and it's open, I think we should have that. And I think it is cool to see people perform at the top level. But I had to learn the hard way myself, Joey. There came a point where no one wanted to play with me anymore. And so I had to branch out and do something else. I couldn't just sit there and be like, this isn't fair. No one will play me. It's like, okay, yeah, but that's life sometimes. Figure it out. So I think we're going to see more and more things go this direction. We've seen it. We've seen tinkering with this, with some of these high roller tournaments where only VIPs are invited, or maybe VIPs are invited, they can bring one pro. We're seeing more and more of this stuff kind of emerge. I would predict things continue to go this direction, but as it pertains to me, the biggest story of 2024, one of the biggest stories, we are certainly pushing the envelope to a place that I never really thought we would see in online poker, and I only expect it to go further in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, you made a lot of really good points there about what this means and like what the kind of how the meta shifts from the player side, which I'm kind of looking at. I feel like there's two really important sides here. There's from the player side, and there's from the opportunity from the operator side, where that's kind of the main area I come to think about first. And then I got on 2+2. I actually got in a big argument with a lot of the players because my first comment was like, this is a natural evolution. This is already happening in Vegas. Like, most high stakes are private here. This is a very common model. And it's a interesting way. If you're GGPoker, right? If you have one high stakes public game and you take that away, and now you have unlimited scalability in private games, because now you're basically giving people a place to run their private game, which is what Club GG is, and they let you create the game, and they let you invite the players, and they take a rev share from that game. And if they got 100 high stakes clubs going on that each got their own games, I mean, it's a different way to build your operation. But what really surprised me was how much players in that thread were like, screw you, you change, like, because I used to be only player side. I used to be like, oh my God, how could you make a change that isn't good for the players? And now I've thought more from an operator side and saying, okay, well, how does an operator going to think about it? What are the strategies you can use from an operator, and how do you build an ecosystem that you want? So everyone has their own opinion about how that should be. And they've tested out ideas. And I think as a player, you are sort of at the mercy of where those things go. And, I learned how to do content creation. And from doing content creation, I built an audience. And then off of that, now I am able to get invited and play in games and make my own game anywhere. Like, everybody wants me to host a game. Everyone wants me to host an event. Everybody is pitching me to say, come do your game here. Come bring the Legion here. Come bring anybody you want to play with you here. So, and for me, it's pretty easy to say, hey, I'm going to go down to the Venetian. I'm going to make a poker game. I'm going to invite anybody I want. I'm going to do that as often as I want. And then I can build out games around that. And now I have my own club there. And, but now everybody's in that position because they're more purist players and they're more for-profit players, only focused on playing poker. And they haven't really built that. They haven't done networking. They haven't met new people. They haven't met built relationships with investors and built relationships with people that are doing sites and built relationships and they don't want to. And I was like that for a long time. Like, I hated that kind of stuff. I wasn't interested in that kind of stuff at all. I just want to sit down and play, battle. And it turns out a lot of people still want that. And I think that was my biggest takeaway, was that players are still craving a public battleground. So why not give them a public arena? And then you have your private arena. But if you got people that still want to play, like, let them play. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why not let these guys play? Let them battle. Let them compete. Like, let's see. And that's what we saw. Coin Poker, they're a crypto poker site. I never played there before. I can't really speak about anything on that. They are using a very similar strategy GGPoker used in terms of letting people play. I mean, we've seen this new evolution where crypto poker sites are becoming more lax with who they let play. And, before it was maybe a secret that people were still playing on a bunch of different sites through agents and through all that kind of model. And now I guess it's just, Phenom Poker built their strategy based off this, and there's a lot of other crypto poker sites that have built their strategy off this. The rules in the world seem to be changing, and now Coin Poker has built their own version of a poker site. They got their high stakes competition. They're saying no rake to the players for the world championship. So it's creating this innovation for new sites to kind of grab their own marketing strategy. And WSOP and GG, these guys are already crushing it. They're in a market leading position. They don't need to, pander to the high stakes players maybe, but I think eventually they're going to realize, like, we should have just created this place if people wanted to play. Like, let's keep them here. Let's let them play. Let's let them battle. But it doesn't seem to be a part of their current strategy. So
yeah, I think that there's certainly something to be said for leaving an option for anyone to play. I don't see an issue with that. But I also think that it's one of those things where when you have the private and the public is just not going to run, because the kinds of people that would make the public run are not going to be there. And you do occasionally see some reg battling, three-handed stuff. I'm sure that'll occasionally happen, but there's just not EV there, particularly when you have to pay rake. Mm-hmm. So maybe in the like championship setting, there's no rake at all. Bringing these people seems like that could be an idea. But at the end of the day, you need Rex to make it go around. One other thing, You said something that was, I used to be all about for the players. You used to be all about for the players like you, not for all the players. It's an
True.
important distinction.
Mm-hmm.
Most players play for fun. You know why? It's a negative sum game. So you were for the 5% of people that tried to play for a living or play for a living. Now what you're saying is for the people that play recreationally, which is actually more players than before.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's an important distinction to make. And for the record, like, I think that it's good to have for poker people that make money and win at the game. I'm not saying that is bad or wrong. I'm just saying you have to consider all of the players when you're trying to set policies that make sense as a business.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot more sense to me now. I think at the time, you know, I didn't have that perspective and I wasn't thinking about it from both standpoints as well. And I think that came out in a lot of the ways that I thought about that situation. And I think a lot of players are in that position now where they have that same viewpoint and they don't think about it from the operator standpoint and they're not concerned about that at all. So finding that balance, I think, is important. And, you know, we're going to see what happens. But that's a story I'll be monitoring. We'll see what happens 2025. You know, new sites are coming out there. So we'll see what happens. Who's next on our list here for topics?
All right, so you have one. Let's do. You want to do one more pick each or two more picks each?
We can do two more picks. Maybe do honorable mention, set the table 2025, and then go from there.
Let's do two picks, but let's make them a little quicker because we're getting into the less important stories.
Counts.
So you got the next pick here. Where are you going?
Let's talk about this club WPT Gold of the free roll and kind of just because I feel like that's going to push a lot of innovation in the industry. I mean, that is an innovating event because WPT had to respond and they had to create, you know, their own big event for the WPT championships. And they decided to launch this sweepstakes poker site, which to me also is a part of potentially the biggest story, because I think the biggest issue that players have is finding a safe place that they can play. And being able to have big tournaments on that site, being able to put money on, to be able to potentially get money off, be able to feel like they're in a safe place and feel like people are trying to create these special moments for you that you really want to get behind. And I think that their strategy was very different because we haven't really seen a marketing strategy that they use. We saw PokerStars did this with the PSPC with the 25K in the Bahamas that I thought was pretty great. But I mean, that was great. I was at that event. I mean, I thought that event was like, got the buzz going. I mean, that's kind of what you want from an event. Get the buzz going, get people excited, get new players there. New players are playing in events that they get a chance to win money at that they might never be able to win money at. So I think we love that kind of stuff in the industry side of things. And I think that this was something with that spirit where 2,000 passports, you give them out to each community. Each community gets to reward people in their community through challenges, through giveaways, through promotions. And you basically make it a big community event where everyone's competing for free and they get a chance to win real money. I like how they added in the mystery bounties in there as well. So a lot of players, some of my players got bounties. They won a few $1,000s. Like, these are all new players. These are all players that never play for money. They don't play for buy-ins over $300. And I think it's incredible for introducing poker to a new generation of people and then using that as a marketing for your sweepstakes site, because we all know it's hard to get liquidity on a poker site. So now they were able to sign people up. They're able to run these free rolls. They're able to give promotions on the site. So they at least set a good foundation for what they could do next. And that's what we're going to see 2025. Like, what are they going to do? And I think that if they can do a poker site that people actually like and people want to play and people want to compete in, and you can win some big prize pools, and you have the influencers on there running their games. You get Brad run his games on there. Rampage wants to run games on there. Wolfgang and the WPT people that they usually work with. I mean, that could be a game changer for poker in America. So I think that this free roll was a sign of what could come from the poker companies. And overall, I mean, super bullish, and like just giving people a place to play, I think could be huge for poker.
Are you able to have your own, like, I'm not too familiar with sweepstakes, but there's like buy-in threshold stuff that's pretty tough, right?
I'm not sure what the buy-in or the threshold for depositing or for taking money off. Obviously, that's a big advantage that a crypto site is going to have, is that, you know, there's all these rules about money. And depending on what kind of company you are in the poker world, there's the social casinos, there's the sweepstakes, there's the regulated, there's the crypto, there's the, you know, the gray market, black market, there's all different types of offerings. And with sweepstakes, there's different kind of rules that you have to follow. So I don't think you can take crypto. You have to know your customer. You have to verify that they're real people. And, there's different responsible gaming practices for regulated versus sweepstakes versus, unregulated. Some of these other sites, they don't care who you are and they take money from anywhere and they can take any amount of money. But yeah, I think with sweepstakes, there is a limit, which, could obviously hinder them. And then for getting money off, I'm not sure what the process is for that. It's a good question. I think in some states there's a cap because it goes by different states have different laws for how these things work. So if you're in Tennessee, maybe it's, different rules than if you're in Illinois or if you're in Nevada. And some states have started to say, these aren't allowed. Like, you got to get these out of here, because VGW was one of the first innovators with the sweepstakes model to use it for the casino world and for the poker world. They built up Chumba Casino. They built up a casino brand, a couple casino brands, and then they built up Global Poker. And obviously they've been crushing it. They made billions of dollars, and everyone was like, hey, what if we did our own version of whatever they did? And now sweepstakes sites have become more of a thing. Sweepstakes sports betting, sweepstakes casino. We're starting to see that more with the sweepstakes poker. And we're starting to see that more in online gaming in general. That's a general, as an investor, you're looking for new markets. So sweepstakes, you got to at least look at that and see what's happening. So I'm probably following that closely, but there's a lot of pushback from the regulated casinos. If you're BetMGM or if you're Poker Stars or if you're a site that's gone WSOP, if you're a site that's gone through the regulated process, you will look around and you might not want these other players to be competing with the sweepstakes and with the crypto and with all that kind of stuff like that. So, that's a new meta that's eventually going to be established at some point, but it's kind of unclear what that's going to be.
It's just a really hard point in time to crack down on gambling with how much gambling stuff is passing across the nation. Some states are still pretty conservative on it. Texas is one of the most. But it's really hard to put the genie back in the bottle and crack down on sweepstakes poker when you've got like sports betting ads running around the clock. So I do think that was a great pick, Joey. We're back over to me now. You have 4, I have 3. Okay, so next up,
I would group that last one as the Club WPT Gold, and there's kind of just the overall launch of that, and I would say that I guess I group that as that.
WPT Gold launch. Okay.
Yeah, the launch, the free roll, the site, whatever.
That makes sense.
Okay.
All right, so a few choices here. I got 2 more picks,
okay.
So I'm gonna try and make them good. I think I'm gonna do it. It's really close for me on this one.
Okay.
But I think I'm going to go with the Nick Vertucci scandal / outrage / having to withdraw from the industry / putting his half of the business up for sale / having to leave town. Now, this story, in terms of reach, it wasn't a super wide reach. In terms of impact, he's not on the show anymore. That's certainly some kind of impact. But in terms of captivation, I just found this story to be pretty riveting, where all of these other stories started to come forward, and it set some, I think, good boundaries for what is acceptable and clearly what is not acceptable from someone that is running a show. It just seemed like it was one thing after another. And at first it was like, maybe this guy's going to survive this. And then it was like, I don't think he's going to make it. And then he deleted all of the accounts. And then, Feldman announced that his half of the company was for sale. So I think that one of the 2 key owners of the largest poker stream over the course of the last few years, some of the most iconic shows, one of the biggest names in poker, it's a pretty big story when they're forced to sell their equity in one of those shows. And I will say there was something interesting about the Nick Vertucci thing. Typically when someone's getting buried, things tend to snowball. I've definitely been on the getting buried side of things. I've also been the one with the shovel. I know how it can go both ways. But what was interesting about this one is typically there are 2 sides. But this was one of the most harmonious moments in poker history where everyone came together and had their reason they didn't like Nick Vertucci. And I didn't really see anyone that was unhappy that he was gone or leaving. It just seemed like pretty much everyone in poker finally agreed on something. So if maybe just for that alone, I feel like that has to make it one of the top stories of 2024.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of people talk about that, and if you were on Twitter, then it was a lot of people were talking about it for a while. And I mean, you know, I've thought about this story a lot because I know you mentioned that you want to talk about this story. It might potentially be on your list, and it's crazy. I mean, that guy, you know, he's had such a character arc. You know, if I look at poker as from a fan, you know, as I've always been a fan of poker, like I like watching people's careers. I like watching see what they do. And I got to know him a bit more over time, doing some commentary with Hustler. Always treated me with respect. I think we always got along well. You know, we had the Jack 4 Robbie kind of stuff. So I was asking questions and we had a little bit back and forth then. But overall, you know, I've always liked this guy. I've always thought, okay, this guy, I mean, look what he's done. He went from
Joey, did you really always like this guy?
Yeah, actually, I mean, I thought he was an interesting guy.
It's a safe place now.
It's a safe place. I agree.
When you met Nick, when you saw Nick, when you saw everything he was doing, your first thought was, I really like this guy.
Well, I had him on my show before. I actually did like the guy. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So just wondering.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not like I've seen a lot of the criticism against Nick Vertucci, but you know, it doesn't necessarily. That's not how I think about these things. And I'm not like. But let me go on. Let me continue on. Right. So,
sorry, go ahead.
You know, the guy. I mean, think about it. The guy basically helped to save Live at the Bike. He invested with Feldman. Without him, they couldn't have created Hustler Casino Live. They couldn't have made one of the biggest shows. And I feel like that show has really helped push the industry, and it's helped to create other shows. And now we got a whole other ecosystem of live streams and content and shows, and like the industry's really changed in terms of what those shows are like. So he's been a big part of that. He put himself as a main player. He started this podcast. His podcast was doing well. He had a lot of great guests on there, and he was one of the biggest winners on Hustler, and he basically had this great position there. And then just to see that story come, I was just real surprised that story would come out.
I see.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean,
I see. You're memeing.
What do you mean?
You're trolling me right now.
How am I trolling you right now?
For a while, I didn't realize you were trolling me. Like you did the Joey troll, where it's like you don't actually realize you're being trolled until it's far enough along, and then I you got me. Nice job.
Well, I am surprised. I mean, what do you mean?
Kicking the no, that's good. Very very nicely done. Here's the thing.
I mean, listen, nothing surprised me in poker, right? There's so come on.
Absolutely was key for his involvement to put that show where it was, and that was Future Poker. No doubt about that. But some of the things that Nick did, I mean, one of his last tweets before he had to delete everything, someone was like, yeah, like, you know, screw the lodge, like, you're way better, like, yeah, and he responded like, thanks, like muscle emoji, like, yeah, like, you know, it's like, you know, and one of the things is when you compete with people, and by the way, I don't actually view Hustler as a competitor. I view like Texas Card House, I view SA Card House. I view the other card rooms in my areas that are actually competing in business. I view like Run It Once and Upswing. I view, you know, GTO Wizard and Lucid. Like those are competitors, right? You're selling something and they're competing, and that's fine. That's how the market works. But so I actually don't even view HTL as a competitor. Like in my opinion, if they do well, we're gonna get more viewers. So it's kind of like raising tide situation. But then to see comments like that, and then be like, yeah, like we got like, you know. I've put a lot of effort into trying to have a good relationship between their show and mine. And I've gone through a bunch of fucking bullshit over on their show, 100%. And then to be that petty where you're going to yeah, we're killing those guys. Like, it's just sad, man. It's sad that you're going to go to that level and engage in that kind of behavior over something so stupid and trivial. And when I saw that tweet, I was like, man, you know what? Fuck this guy, but it's just not worth it. And then like the next day, this thing broke open and I was like looking at it and I was like, it's not often that karma hits this hard, this fast, but it was like really, really something to see that happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand. Like, why even make that comment? It's like totally unnecessary.
So
like,
what did he say? He made a muscle tweet? He made a muscle emoji?
Someone was like, yeah, like you guys are good. Like, fuck the lodge. Like, you're kicking their ass. And he was like, yeah, we are. Yeah. It's like,
yeah, okay, I mean, I don't know. The guy, he got a lot of confidence. You know, they got a unique confidence. You got to have confidence. But I see what you're saying. Nobody, you don't like him. People are talking shit. You know, if anybody's putting down my show, I get you know, I might feel the same way. Understandable for you.
It's just unnecessary. It's like, why? Like, I have done a lot for your show. Like, I've done a lot. I've played some of your biggest games. I've helped promote you. I always have Feldman's back along the way. I've said nothing but nice things about your show. And then you're going to do shit like that. It's like we have employees. We have like other people in my business that see that kind of stuff. And it's like, now I have to be like, oh, that. Like, why is this person saying this about us when we're friends with him? Oh, he's just a fucking douchebag. I mean, that's why. I mean, I don't know. What do you say to your employees? Like, oh yeah, like we always prop them up, and then this guy owns half the company. He's talking shit on Twitter. It's like, what's wrong with this guy? Anyway, it is a real loss for the beard massage community. I know that they're highlights and revenues are going to be down tremendously. But
so wait, you think I don't think he's gone. I mean, I think that he's definitely coming back at some point in time. I think for this story, I mean, he doesn't, like, I don't know the full story. I would love to know his side of the story. I'd love to know more about what happened here and like why did he delete the accounts and like what's going on here. But I feel like we're gonna see a resurgence from Nick Vertucci. I feel like the guy's definitely gonna come back at some point in time. He'll come up with a podcast. He's probably gonna, if whatever happened, he'll have an apology or something like that's gonna happen. I mean, I don't know. It seems inevitable to me. You think this is the last we've seen of Nick Vertucci?
Ooh, I don't think so, man. Because think about it like this: like, there are, as far as I understand, almost zero Nick Vertucci fans, right?
No, he's definitely got fans. Come on, he's got fans.
I mean, dude, come on. Like, how many are we talking about here? Like, whatever. Let's say he's got 10, 5, 100. But the point is, like, the reason he was a part of this was because he owned half of like a really popular show.
I see.
So that was like you were force fed Nick Vertucci because he was the most common played player on that show and he was owned half the business. So now, what happens? Like, how is he going to get back in? It's not going to be a business venture, I don't imagine. He's going to start playing. They're not going to have him on that show again. Why would they do that? Why would anyone have him on a show? How does he end up in this world again? Is my question.
I don't know. I mean, that seems to be what he's good at. He seems to be moving and grooving. I mean, he seems to make things happen. So, like, listen, we've seen crazier things happen. Houston Curtis, he ended up taking over the stream. And it seems like poker gives people a second chance. And poker lets people back into the game and lets people back into the show. And if you really want to get into the show and you really want to get into the game and you can help make people money, then people are going to give you an opportunity. We've seen that time and time again with people that are still playing high stakes and running games and playing events. And, everyone's got something might have happened in the past. And you could look at them and say, okay, well, I'm going to focus on that. Or you could focus on, well, the guy is good at putting on poker events. The guy's good at making money. So, I don't know. I feel like there was a story that happened sometime in the past before kind of related to this, but I think ultimately the takeaway for me is like, don't treat people this way. Don't treat the women this way. And, the consent thing is more important than ever if you're going to be, and then this, I'm in Vegas, Vegas is crazy. Like, I meet so many people, they say the craziest things of all time. Like, I'm just so desensitized to people talking shit, men talking things to women, women talking to girls. Like, none of it seems appropriate for Twitter.
Dude, so totally inappropriate.
Yeah. I mean, there's
such a key difference though between being a creepy dude, between being a creepy dude and being a creepy dude with people that need you to get onto the show. It's like not even the same. Like, being a creepy dude, it's gonna happen till the end of time, and like it's just part of the world. But being a creepy dude when people are on your show and need basically you to support them to be able to play on your show, and then using that as like a vessel to launch your, like, I'm going to beat off to pictures of you before the show, is just fucked up. It's just fucked up. It's a fucked up thing to do. It's like you're using your power to create this dynamic, whether you know it or not, and putting these people in this situation. It's just horrible. I mean, I what else do you really say? I mean, we don't have to focus on that because the reality is, like, it's something that we all understand. But I do think that it was good that it went in this direction, and I do not think that the poker world will weep. Anyway, I have one more story. My next story, my final story in our top 10.
That's a pretty harsh take, bro. Damn. Okay.
Top 10 stories. What are you going to do?
Okay, go ahead.
And by the way, you know what? I think this is actually really good for them because, like, they lost the weakest part of the show, and now they get to replace that with maybe a new partner who can bring some value.
So you're saying from the investor side, they're going to bring in a new investor, probably someone with different ideas and somebody who can take Hustler a different direction, which might actually end up being good for the IP. I mean, would you invest in Hustler? Would you buy 50% of Hustler right now if they came to you and said, hey, was that something that, maybe more, this is more theoretically because you're doing Lodge and, it's maybe not possible, but would that be an asset that you're interested in as an investor or as your position in poker?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when they said it was for sale, I at least inquired. I don't think it ends up making sense for me.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely at least interesting.
Yeah, I think
so.
Yeah.
Hey, did you have something you wanted to finish there?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I just think they got a good thing. They got great content. They got a great library of content. They can, the future, they got to figure it out. So I'm always interested. How are these companies going to evolve? What are they going to do next? So I'm just going to pay attention. We'll see what happens with Nick. And yeah, so let's go ahead. What do you got for the last one?
All right, so to round this out, my last pick in our top 10 poker stories of 2024. A lot of good options, Joey.
Okay.
I'm gonna put a few on here. You know, actually, I had one that I wanted to do, but it's so in the vein of cheating, and we've already had two cheating stories. So I'm gonna give an honorable mention. The ACR bot cheating, where they offered $100,000 for someone that could cheat with a bot on their site. I mean, that was amazing. That was an amazing moment. What a horrible promotion. I just think that like
Did they pay that out? What happened with
the
that?
audacity to go out there and say, if you can cheat on our site, we'll pay you. That is just incredible. But I'm not going to pick that because I think it's a little too.
But didn't
similar
somebody actually do it the next day? They're like, "Oh, I built a bot. Like, it's good. Give me the money."
People were messaging me. They were bots running amok during that. And,
right?
and,
Like,
and
then they did it. You know what I mean? I don't know.
They retracted it, and they're like, on second thought, this is actually not a good idea. which Joey, to do that promotion was one of the most
Moneymaker,
hilarious.
bro. They put the legend of the game out there. Moneymaker.
I'm taking
Moneymaker,
this
the guy
story.
from Tennessee. He doesn't know about bots. What's he talking? You know, come on.
I'm actually going to take this story because it's just so amazing.
Well, what else did you have? What were you contemplating?
Okay, it's between that and there's a few other ones I got. I thought the Gamble Door guy winning that big Triton tournament was incredible.
Yeah,
I thought that the Hustler Casino Live $1 million game
love that
way
one.
lower on my list than if we did this last year. If we did it last year, it would have been in my top 3 or 4 stories. Still entertaining this year. Still a big story, but not on that same level. Definitely a step down there. But you know, around, in this area. And then the other one, I'm going to go with, maybe this should be my pick. Yeah, you know, I'm going to run with this one. The deep tournament runs for Kristen, Foxen, and Liv Boeree this year, I think were really, I don't want to say important for women in poker in general, but to put spotlights on women playing poker, I think is awesome. You know, Liv breaking through the barrier on the all-time cash for any female player, and then Kristen Foxen to have such a deep run in the main with such a big spotlight. I think that seeing women succeed in that stage does help bring more women into the game of poker, which I think is really good for poker, and it's good to have to highlight those opportunities. I don't want to get down the long rabbit hole of like, why aren't there more women in poker? I think it's because of, and then you just see these posts on Twitter and you're like, I can't believe this person's really going to go here. Like, just the reasons are plentiful. I'm sure we can all imagine different reasons, but showing some of the you know, most successful women in poker succeed on a stage like that, I think is good for the game of poker, and those stories are compelling.
Yeah, I mean, listen, great. That was awesome that Liv went deep in that 25K. Everyone on Twitter was excited. Elon was watching. You know, Liv Boeree, she's been crushing it. She started this podcast outside of poker, Win-Win. She's been very active in the tech world, the speaking world, the science world, you know, social media world for a very long time. So to have her go deep, win millions of dollars, I was excited. I mean, I'm an OG Liv Boeree fan. You know, I've always loved Liv, and I remember had her and Igor on my podcast one time, and that was one of my first in real life podcasts. I had them on and drank some wine and got to know them a little bit more. So I've been following her career as she got out of poker, and I'm always interested in what people are going to do when they leave. And then obviously Kristen Foxen, she's one of the OG Supernova elites, 24 tabling poker stars, 50-cent dollar, 1-2 people that I came up with back in the day. So to see her become basically one of the best women poker player of all time in the tournament world, in the cash game world. I don't know how much cash game she's still playing, but I'm sure she's a force there if she wanted to be. But see her now have this moment in the main event, go deep. I think everyone was excited. Everybody was loving that. I was fanboy, and I'm excited to see how, hopefully she could, I mean, I was obviously hoping she could take it down and win the event, and I thought that'd be amazing for poker. But like these women that I've been meeting, they're no joke. They study every day. They are locked in. They're very serious players. They got very serious results. So I think that the women competition is more fierce than ever. And I think there's like a lot of new women who are looking at stories like Kristen and like Liv, and they're saying, oh my God, that's exactly like, that's what I want to do. I can do that. It's easy to do that. And I'm going to, maybe not easy, but I'm going to put in the effort to be able to do that. So it's pretty exciting. I think that the gap is, you know, I don't know. It's always been that debate, but I think the women are getting really, really good. I think there's more women coming into poker. Maybe I'm just seeing a lot of them on social media, but you know, it's exciting. I think it's cool,
you
man.
You're looking at women on social media, Joey? Is that what's going on?
Women in social media, men in social media, Doug. You know, hey, I'm looking around.
That's
I'm in Vegas. I go out. Listen, you're in Texas.
That's the most believable top story of 2024 was Joey was looking at some women on social media. But anyway, that's my final 5 stories with 1 pick left in the draft. Joey, what are you going with for your final selection?
You know, the one downside of these stories is there are not many like big player, you know, celebrating the player accomplishment stories, you know, celebrating the big winners, celebrating the you know, that side of things, which was one of my potential topics, big winners in poker, sort of the evolution of poker, the next generation rising up, the old guard trying to hold them back with Ivy and Negreanu in the WSOP events. You got the new players who are rising up, Jesse Lonuses of the world, and a lot of these Triton guys, and just what Triton's building, I think is pretty impressive. You know, another one to me is the rise of it's probably my last one. Just the rise of the content creators and the rise of all these vloggers and all these streamers and all these people that are making vlogs and that are getting millions of views and that are all becoming their own promoter of the game of poker and taking it very seriously. And I think it's just really blowing poker up with this next generation to another level. So I would say maybe just the rise of the next generation, because we saw that go away for a long time, and we saw the average age of the WSOP main event. There was like I remember one year it was like one person under 25 or something like that played the main event. And now I think all that is changing. I think we're going to see an influx of 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 all over the world. And then in America, we're going to see them all still come to WSOP. We're seeing them go to Triton. We're seeing them go to these big competitive events. So I'd say the rise of the next generation in terms of the content creators, guys like Wolfgang, guys like Rampage, you know, the Brad Owen, Andrew, they were some OGs of vlogging. Now we're seeing the next generation do the short form and grow their Instagrams, and they're posting, you know, Frankie C, this guy's getting 1 million views on him playing a 5K tournament. You know what I mean? Like, these guys know how to storytell on a different level. Guys like Corey are getting into the game. They're getting hundreds of thousands of views for going to play 2-5 in Texas, you know? So it's like they've figured out something, that they tapped into something, and I think it's going to go. I think it's scary because, you know, these young people are crazy and they're all degenerates and they all want to gamble, and it's going to get wild. So I'd say to me, that's one of my biggest stories of the year, is just the rise of the next generation of players and the next generation of content creators.
Well, I'd actually never seen this Frankie C YouTube channel before.
Yeah, I met him before he started his channel. He's part of Next Gen Poker. And once he decided to go more solo, and actually stayed at my house before during one of the WPT events. So I got to know him a lot, got to hear kind of what his vision is and what he wants to do. And his content vision is to be a version of, you know, hundreds of millions of views, hundreds of millions of subscribers. Like, that's his challenge, is how do I get a biggest channel that's ever existed in the poker world? And how do I storytell? And how do I put this next level of effort into my content and storytelling? So there's a few other creators that are taking that strategy, but obviously you've seen the reaction. I mean, he's getting so much engagement. His story's been building up, and he's got the family, he's got the kid. Him and Kitty Qual got a baby together. He's traveling to Asia. I mean, I'm like, what's going on? This guy's living a different life. So people love that, but he's sharing it all. He's putting it out there. He's being vulnerable. He's saying, right now I suck. I'm a losing player. I'm trying to get better. And people are following that, and they're connecting to that story. So, you know, I think these next generation guys are who I'm excited to see what they're going to do. So yeah.
See, I would have had this story as like a 2022 story or a 2023 story, but I feel like 2024, we're not really seeing the rise of like content as a whole. In fact, like, a lot of the bigger content creators' viewership is down, and it's becoming very saturated. And so we're seeing less people kind of rise up. I mean, there are a couple people in there.
You're not on Instagram, are you, Doug?
I saw Alex Duval in the chat. He does some dare I say Doug Polk-esque type videos. I've seen over on his channel. So there are a couple people that are making new stuff and growing and whatnot. But as a general theme, I would say the explosion of the content creator was really a couple of years ago, and now we're seeing it kind of become a little tougher to break through in general.
Yeah, I mean, definitely need a good strategy, but the people that are breaking through, especially, like, you're not on Instagram, so Instagram is its whole meta. Like, Instagram is where, like, poker on Twitter used to be great. Now, you know, it could be a lot better. I don't really see as much as I used to. It doesn't seem like it's a forum like it used to be. But on Instagram, there's so many creators, there's so many people that are updating their posts on there, making stories, making vlogs, and you're seeing a lot of the big audiences on Instagram for sure. Some on TikTok, not as much on TikTok, and then a lot of them on YouTube as well. But you're right, it is hard to break through. I mean, it's not easy. There's so many creators, there's so many streams, there's so many vloggers, there's so much people competing for attention. But the people that are, I think, are going to be, you know, they're going to really stand out, and they're going to. But you might be right about the new content outside of that for events. You know, we haven't maybe seen innovation in a lot of those areas. So I think 2025, though, Doug, if we set the table for that, then we're going to talk more about what could be to come.
I was like, let me.
What else you got?
Excuse me.
Bless you.
I was like, let me go over to Instagram and just see what's happening. And I just open it up, and the first thing I see is Jungle Man like doing some bicep curls.
I mean, hey, he's working. The guy's working out.
I don't think I need this. Like, no offense to Jungle, great dude, but like why do people go on Instagram?
Dude, Instagram's so fun. You're kidding. It's like a good way to keep up with people. Like, you share your life, you get to follow people's lives. Like in Vegas, it's so great because I meet so many people. So I'll follow them on Instagram. I'll see their stories. I'll learn about their life. It's a great way to keep up with a bunch of different people and see what they're doing. You know, it's if you don't care about that, then it's different. Like I love following content creators. I love following people I meet in Vegas. I love following other people who are running businesses and who are trying to do events. And, you know, that's who I see who's working, who still wants to do things, who wants to collab, who wants to try and make content in 2024. So for me, I love it. And plus, it's a great dating app. I met the girl I'm dating on there, and I love that place. I mean, Instagram's amazing. But it could be, you know, if you're not into that kind of stuff. Then
I see now.
You see now, okay.
That's back to our top story of 2024. The big takeaway: Joey, Ingram. There are girls on Instagram.
Instagram's crazy. I mean,
dare I say breaking news?
Doug, if you got a big account on Instagram, and yeah, it's a different world. You know what I mean? Like, you get to message anybody you want. You get a lot of people inbound. Like, anytime I post something, you just get so many comments from all these different people. It's pretty, like, it's a great place to be a content creator and have a community and meet people. So it's awesome. I love that place.
Sounds like
GTO.
Great for other reasons. All right, those are our top 10 stories. Did you have any other honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions. What do you guys think in the chat? What do you guys think on YouTube? What do you guys think on Doug's chat? What do you guys think about the honorable mentions? I mean, state of online poker in general, you know, is
while they do that, and they let us know the top stories that they think we missed.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick vote in the comments, in the chat, wherever you think. Whose team is better here? Here is Team Doug.
Okay.
WSOP main event RTA. Tamayo at the final table. WSOP versus WPT December showdown. Rise of software training tools. The Nick Vertucci scandal. And the Kristen Foxen / Liv Boeree MTT runs. That's my top story team. Over on Joey's team, we have GG buying the World Series of Poker. We have the Bloomberg bot story about the liquidity bots that have been cheating in online poker for years. The end boss of bots, if you will. GG banning high-stakes pros from playing in their games online. Club WPT Gold launch and everything that's been going into that with the passports, with everything that they're putting into that sweepstakes poker site. And then finally, the rise of the next generation of poker players, content creators, younger people in poker, getting back into the game like it was back when we were kids, Joey.
What do you think?
What do you think, chat? Comments. Who you got? Team Doug or Team Joe? Team Joey.
I think they're both. I think they're both. I think they're both strong. I think they're both a lot of good people. Both a lot of good. I mean, yeah. I'm curious what people think. I kind of like my stories. I like your stories. I'm gonna go with my stories because I'm back in my squad here, and I'm gonna pick myself. So yeah.
I think the top story was the top by quite a bit, and I got to go first. So I think that was a pretty big advantage in the draft.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to think Gambledore was the story. Gambledore kind of having his big moment at Triton. Gambledore.
That one was up there. That one was definitely up there.
What do you think? What was people captivated? I mean, it was obviously a wizard taking down the events at the high stakes, so I could see why people love that. But what do you think it was about that story?
It was just like a random, Gandalf-looking dude stepping in and just like playing with all the best people in the world and winning a gigantic number. And I think it was like his only tournament he's ever played or whatever. It's a very compelling story.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think anyone winning a tournament is that compelling generally. Some exceptions.
Right.
But I just don't find like winning a tournament stories usually are that compelling unless there's like other things that go into it.
Well, he did walk out. Someone said he walked out with little people. Like there was a whole presentation behind it. He left a note when he left. So, I mean, that story really did captivate people. I think people want to see an underdog still win at poker. I think that's what people are interested in. They want to see someone, an outsider who's not a pro, who uses a different strategy. And I mean, listen, we don't know if that guy was wearing a prosthetic suit. We don't know what that guy's deal was. He came in like a wizard, like a Santa Claus, sprinkled his magic dust, and manifested the W. So obviously the guy's doing something right. Are we ever going to see the guy again? I don't know, but it was exciting to see. I didn't, I kind of followed the story a little bit, but it wasn't something I really saw too much of. But the chat the chat does love it though. Yeah.
You know what's kind of funny? My chat thinks your team's better, and your chat thinks my team's better. So there you have it.
Well, we'll see. I'll post on my Twitter.
We'll see what the comments look like after this.
Yeah, we'll see.
So before we call it a day here, Joey, you want to set the table? Set the table for 2025.
You want to do a table? What do you say? You want to do an ad read? You got to add? You got some? What are you promoting? What do you got going on, kid? You got the Lucid? Is it Upswing? Is it the Lodge? Is it what do you got going on?
Yeah, just kind of all of it.
Everything.
We're putting a lot of focus into Lucid lately. We've hired some developers. We're putting some work in to make things better. We're updating a bunch of stuff. I think that the software is good today. I think it could be a lot better. I think it's important to invest in software these days, and I think the people that play Lucid, they enjoy it. I mean, I think what's different about us, there's so many other people out there in this space. Everyone's doing their own thing, but we're like a very clean trainer where you can play hands and see immediately what was right or wrong and learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
We're available on iOS, we're available on Android, we're available on Upswing, on desktop. So it's more focused on the actual playing and seeing what you're supposed to do in spots, and less on like, here are a bajillion features that are confusing. It's about drilling and learning. And then we also have this feature called Cardle, where every day you get like a curated learning lesson where you play hands and say what you would do, and then it tells you why you were right or wrong, so you can learn and implement that. I think the actual training aspect of poker is really important. It's one thing just look at a bunch of information, but to take that and then put it into actual play on the felt, I think that's extremely important.
Definitely, yeah. I think I've been loving it. Obviously, I think I probably played maybe the most hands on Lucid. I think I'm at
yeah, you're number
maybe
one.
like 200K or 190K or something like that. So I played 200. Obviously, that means I played a lot of hours.
And look at you running deep in tournaments now.
Well, okay. So my preparation. So I've been working with GTO Wizard too. My main thing, I've been using Lucid, and I got 160K with Wizard. I got 190K with Lucid. So I've been using both of them in different ways, and I think figuring out how to use the tools and use the trainers. And GTO Wizard been a great sponsor to me. So obviously, shout out GTO Wizard. I think they've done a great job. Lucid GTO Upswing, always been a longtime partner of the Legion. I think you guys have produced a lot of great courses, and I've been loving sending people there for years, and people seem to really get a lot of value from what you're doing. That's why you guys are still in business and still doing your thing. So the way your trainer is presented is a little bit different than the way that the Wizard trainer might work, or the way you might operate which one. And I think what really makes that one unique is with the leaderboard. And then, like you said, you guys have a different offering. I think the Wizard has more like you mentioned, more features. There's more coaching videos, and the custom solutions. I mean, that's the really powerful one, is being able to build custom strategies and being able to go deep on that is, I think, where a lot of the high level players see that arbitrage right now, and with the post flop ICM and stuff like that. And but the leaderboard function you have is so addicting, and I think that I've been loving that. I'm so addicted. So I love running up points. I just like to play big hands. You know what I mean? It's kind of fun to just run your points total. That's what I realized with training most times isn't fun. And if you can try to have a reason to run up the score or try to get an average EV difference, I always try to get a low EV difference. I love that kind of stuff. So, leaderboards are great. You're speaking to the main customer, I'm loving the leaderboard. So that's what I would advise, do more.
Well, I mean, Lucid, so the reason we partnered with Lucid originally was when I trained for the Negreanu thing, I just grinded Lucid every day. This is before I owned any part of it. I was involved in the project. I just was like, I want something that I can just train. And I just grinded every single day. So it's like, at the end of that, I looked at it and I was like, this is really helpful. This is why I was able to execute my strategy at such a high level. And I like to invest in things I believe in and think do a good job. So we ended up partnering and putting in a bunch of money and scaling up, and we're at an all-time high for users and growing every day. Excited about things, some big updates in the future, and excited to see what we can do with it.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, I didn't know these trainers were so powerful for learning, but now my strategy playing cash games. I mean, listen, Doug, I'm ready to play you heads up. I've been telling you. I've been calling that. Yeah, I've been calling you. I've been saying that I got to get a match with the Supreme Leader.
I know a place we can play.
Okay, listen. I mean, I'm willing.
Club GG. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Well, so you want to talk about 2025, or you got something you want to promote?
Yeah, let's set the. Yeah, I mean, listen. I'm just sponsored by the Wizard, sponsored by GTO Wizard. I love those guys. They got their membership, got a lot of features with the trainer, with the custom solutions, with the videos behind the paywall, and all the other content. So, you know, obviously they've been a big supporter of mine. They gave me the best coaches. They gave, you know, they're sending everything my way I've asked for learning. So they've been a great resource for me learning. I got to shout them out. Shout out Mike Brady as well, because he was the one who helped me get training. And I feel like I had the best year of 2-card ever. So, you know, well, that's all I can say. Guerrilla Gaming, of course, they make some of the best poker tables. They're one of my longtime supporters too. And but yeah, let's go 2025. What do you got coming up, Doug? I mean, the lodge has been expanding. You moved to San Antonio. You are trying to go to, huh?
I still live in Austin.
No, but you expand. I'm sorry, you're expanding to San Antonio. You're growing the lodge. The channel's been doing a great job. You're building the community up. You got a great foundation. You got the new restaurant. What's in store for you 2025 with the lodge and with your content, with your channel? How you thinking about it?
Yeah, so in Austin, we opened Odds Restaurant. We have a really great restaurant guy. His name's John Green. So we actually have the grand opening for Odds officially to the public on January 11th, I believe.
Congratulations.
And thank you. Yeah, we're in a soft launch right now, so you can come by and serve food, and we're serving the poker room and whatnot. But we're kind of honing everything in and getting it in a good place to, you know, be able to both serve the public and also serve the poker room. That's been cool. Learning a lot about restaurants, tough business, but I think we have kind of a good baked in user base or customer base to, you know, order food. So it should be good for the poker room, should be good for the restaurant, should be good all across the board. And then we're focusing a lot. We're doing a big build out in San Antonio. We're investing millions of dollars into a new, awesome, big poker room. It's going to be 65, 70 tables with its own standalone restaurant. We have a design firm. Some of the mock-ups are sweet. We're excited about it. It's going to take some time, though, so I don't know if that's going to be late this year or early next year, but, you know, that process is in the works. And then we're, of course, looking at other places to expand to. We did not get into Farmers Branch in that epic council meeting where they had the no card room signs, which were great. That was good memes across the board. But we're going to keep working on the business and trying to grow it, and that's my focus. You know, frankly, between family stuff and business stuff and investing, like I don't have that much bandwidth for playing poker anymore. I do want to get back into some more content this year. I enjoy content. I was thinking about it on New Year's Eve. I was sitting there. I was thinking about what do I want to do next year? And I'm like, you know what? I do love making videos. I want to do some more breaking news. I want to talk about stories. I want to do memes. I want to do jokes. The comedy stuff is really what I like the most. So maybe a little less on the hand review side. I think there are plenty of people doing that. Not saying I'd never do a hand review, but I'd rather just focus on the funny part of poker. When I look at content as a whole, tons of vloggers, tons of people telling their poker story, tons of people analyzing hands, trying to do funny material. I just haven't seen many people doing it, and I don't think that I've seen many people doing it at the level I think we can do it at on my channel. So hoping to do a little more fun, interesting stuff. Definitely check out my channel this year and see what we got cooking. Should be some good times. So
yeah, I'd say we both have took a step back from YouTube, and I think that we both have not. I only did 2 or 3 shows last year on my YouTube channel at all. I know you did a few great videos. You know, I love when you do the news videos, when you're updating on some of the stories. And my piece of advice I would say is, I know that you're focused on maybe some stories that make some things look bad. I would try to say focus on some stories that are more about the good things happening in the industry and the winners and some of the best stories versus...
I think that's a terrible idea. I think that's actually one of your worst ideas.
You think, come on, bro.
Dude, no one gives a shit when someone wins a tournament with the exception of like 2 people. Like,
well, I think you need to find the bigger story.
Joey, I used to do this on my channel. I covered news stories, good and bad. And what I found was all of the like uplifting, and in other news, person B won a tournament for millions of dollars.
No, you got to tell it
people
different,
just exit that thing immediately. They're fucking out.
If you say it like that.
Cheating allegations have rocked the poker world. People are like... I'm watching this shit 6 times. So look, like, I don't want to like go in there and be like, it's a mistake to tell people what they want to watch. They watch what they want to watch, and what they want to watch are cheating fucking allegations. I'm sorry.
So
the data is clear. It's clear.
I'm not going
to go in there and tell people what they want. I'm going to do what they want.
I think they want those stories, but I think they also want a lot of their stories too. So that's why everyone got their own opinion. You know, that's what I'm saying. I can only give you my opinion on it.
Poker Pro wins 4th bracelet. Look at this nice picture. How nice is that? No one fucking cares, Joey.
What if they worked hard? What if they grinded? They put their blood, sweat, and tears. They sacrificed their family. You know.
Oh no, they sacrificed time with their family.
They dedicated themselves to the craft.
Grow up, dude.
You don't think so, huh? Okay, you're not interested in that.
It's
Well,
just
I'm
not-
interested in
it's
that.
just-
I like
look,
that.
Look, Joey, there's just things people are interested in. They're interested in like drama, behind the scenes, this, that, and the other. I've covered the good stories. I'm not saying I would never cover a good story.
Yeah.
You have to look at it through the lens of, is this a good story to cover or not?
Mm-hmm.
And if the answer is yes, you cover it. The answer is no, you don't.
Right.
Looking at it from like a lens of how do I make a story positive to get people to watch? That's just like not how you do YouTube.
Interesting. Okay. Well, we're gonna see. Okay. All right. So Doug, more drama. I mean, listen. You know, obviously people love drama. They love to comment on the drama, and yeah, I'm sure there'll be more 2025. So we'll stay tuned for that. So the lodge is expanding. You got you got anything big in store for events, or how are you guys thinking about you know, expansion in that regard? You got a great. I think your YouTube strategy you've been building. I think that's been pretty strong. You got a real base community. You got people that show up every show. You got a great moderator team who are always there supporting, and you've clearly been able to test out new formats, tournaments and low stakes games and theme games and high stakes games, and each one has its place in that market and that strategy. So what are you thinking for 2025? Or do you want to keep doing more of the big games? Do you want to maybe focus more on the everyman games? Do you want to build up more players from your show, or what's your thoughts on that?
I'm not too involved in the stream these days because there's a lot of other stuff going on. We're working on a bill in the legislature here in Texas this session to clarify language for poker. I think it's extremely important. So that's going to be somewhere I focus. We're looking at trying to get in other markets here in the state. A lot of energy going into that. There's a lot going on. I'm a little less involved on the YouTube content side. I think we have a great team running it, a great producer, great director of marketing. We have just really good people. Our production staff are just excellent. They're extremely professional, some of the best in the business. The quality of our show is very high. The stakes are pretty impressive given that we're in a smaller market. And then the people that play in our show really enjoy playing there. So I'm really happy with that product and happy that we got our WPT partnership as well. I think it's been great. So yeah, I think the stream's in a really good place. And as far as the room goes, we have a really big tournament series coming up in actually we have two things. So we have Wacky Weekend coming up in early February, where we used to do a bunch of stupid ass tournaments like Deuces Are Wild and Blood River, where there's a 6th Street and all this different stuff. We're gonna be doing that again. So if you like weird, funny kinds of games, I'd come out for that. And then we're doing our Lodge Championship Series a little earlier this year. We're gonna start it in mid-February. $3,000 buy-in, $1 million guarantee main event, and we're putting in like I want to say 100-ish satellite winners to that 3K. It's gonna be a very good value tournament. It's gonna be like a very good value tournament.
Let's get
given
it.
that number of satellite winners. So looking forward to that. Hopefully we don't overlay anymore because I'm sick of losing money. And yeah, it should be a very promising year.
Let's go. Well, I'm excited to see what the Lodge can do 2025. I'll be paying attention. You know, it's one of the streams I like to watch. I always pop in, see Slick Rick, see Skull Mike, see the commentators, and kind of see what your guys' strategy for building it is. So I'm excited, and hopefully we do get to see you back in the YouTube streets. You know, a lot of us mainly hang out on Twitter now. I'm on Twitter pretty much every day. I like Instagram. YouTube. It's a little bit different. I just use YouTube to study poker these days, so I don't really I'm not thinking about uploading on here, that much. But I do got a lot of things I want to talk about. And
Let me ask you
discuss,
this, Joey.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Joey.
Okay.
Putting a lot of time into studying.
Yeah.
What do you got planned here? You're gonna make a run at it? You're gonna be a big NLH Poppy?
I'm definitely going to be playing more in 2025. And I'm deciding what I want to play. I want to be very versatile. I mean, I don't want to get too much into my strategy for why I'm choosing this route, but I think that the game is about to go crazy, and I think there's an influx of new players. I'm in a whole new world of meeting. We're working with Celebrity Poker Tour has been great. It's introduced me to a whole new world of poker players who want to play poker. They got big followings. They are content creators. They want to gamble. A lot of these guys want to gamble and they don't really know how to play, but they want to play events. I'm just like, oh my god, this is a crazy time. Like these live high stakes streams, people go on there with the intention of not playing. Like they don't mind losing. Like these players are bad, Doug. I mean, I've seen some really questionable play at high stakes Texas Hold'em, and with the private game world and with all those opportunities in the private game world, I was like, oh my god, I mean, this is like I got to get good at this game. Like, how do I not just lock in and put in 1,000 hours at studying Hold'em and try to be good forever? So that's basically what I did the entire last year. As I studied every single day, I worked hard every day. I started watching YouTube poker content creators for 4 hours a day. I'm watching courses. I'm watching old Doug Polk videos. like I'm tapping back into that poker player mentality. I'm watching, listen, I'm watching Doug. How did Doug become the best heads up player? Like I'm watching all these things.
So rather than message me, you're like, I'm gonna go into YouTube and
yeah,
watch all of Doug's videos.
You know, come on, you busy guy. But eventually, I can, you know, I feel like okay, I can maybe get some more personalized input from one of the goats of the heads up. But you know, that's kind of been my approach. And now I start playing more cash games. I start working with the Venetian, and the Venetian is going to be launching a poker stream in, or like a production, or like a studio to record things. I don't think it's going to be like a big regular, necessarily every day a week stream, but it could, you know, it could do whatever they want to do with it. So they reached out to me once they announced the new poker room. They asked me if I would want to help to do some events there for the Legion, if I want to help build the stream, if I want to run a cash game on the stream, if I want to make up my own tournament series, if I want to basically create my own, whatever I want to create. So that we went back and forth, we negotiated for months on this. And I really wanted to be able to work more with the casino and use the casino to bring in the Legion, to bring in other content creators and create a platform that way. Cause I've been doing a lot of startup investing this year. I'm looking to invest in a lot of, you know, diverse companies. And I really want to invest in my own social media platform, like a Twitter or Instagram or something like that. You know, poker sites are the best thing. Poker trading are the best thing. Poker software. And I really want to be getting casino world. So, but you need a partner to work in casino world. Like I'm not going to be a casino owner in Vegas like anytime soon. And there's a whole other process you need to learn and things you need to know and money you need to have. And, you know, I'm at a point where I want to learn from some of the best people in the industry. So I've been getting offered jobs from all these different companies, from, you know, person, work with him, to work with the Studio 52, to basically work with any company. So I've just said, okay, well, maybe I'll just say yes to one of these opportunities. I've always said no. Maybe I'll say yes. So with the Venetian, they gave me what I wanted, and they gave me a nice budget to be able to bring in other people to host their events, and maybe I can shine a light on them instead of it being all about my show or my events, which is one of my big goals for 2025, is to help bring in people, let them do their events there, bring in other content creators, have you there, have someone there to host an event in Vegas on the Strip. And then with the stream, we're going to see how that evolves, but I'll be able to help be a part of that process and help to build a strategy and to help to, you know, make the biggest events. My goal is to make the biggest events that have ever happened in poker history.
Hosting an event would be fun.
Game. Yeah.
Hosting an event, I'd be down to get in there and host.
I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I want to be able to have a platform to bring in my entire network versus me have to be the host of the show. I want to be able to bring in everyone else to do their show there and to build the big events and to build. I got a Legion Invitational to be doing. I mentioned to you, I want to name a reward, a trophy in that series after Doug Polk, you know, one of the heads up end bosses. So I'm going to tie some ideas out. I got people that want to play.
Can it be best bluff? Can I be best bluff?
It could be whatever what do you want it to be? The Doug Polk.
It's your event. I mean, you're the one putting things together. I'd like the best bluff award.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I'm just gonna try some. I'm gonna try some new things. I've been working more with a lot of charity stuff out here. Working more with other events. I'm looking to work more with different companies that are outside of poker that aren't necessarily just poker focused. And so yeah, 2025. That's what I'm gonna be doing. Working on my game. Looking for good opportunities to play. I'm gonna be playing more tournaments. And yeah, working more with the Venetian. I'll be playing more poker around Vegas, I'm sure. And hopefully, Club WPT Gold has a good online option where I could potentially play on there, and then I'll do some traveling. I'll go down to Texas, go to the lodge, and
yeah, we gotta get you back out here, man. We'll do a big, I guess, no limit stream with you now.
I mean, I still love PLO, but the Hold'em. I mean, it's kind of fun when you know how to play Hold'em. It's very exciting, and plus like heads up. I want to do more heads up. I want to do more shorthanded. You know, I got ADHD. I'm not trying to sit there nine-handed anymore. So I'm gonna try some new formats for events and cash games and stuff like that, and see what people want. But I think the interest is, I got so many people that want to play in events, that want to play tournaments, that want to play on stream. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited. I mean, like I said, I'd love to have the lodge out there. I'd love to have you out there, do something there. You know, if you want to if there's $1 million game, you get a seat. You got a seat. I mean, that's kind of how I think about it. I got to get you in that.
I feel like my $1 million game days are behind me. I just don't know if I can go through this again. But I do appreciate that you're offering me a seat. I appreciate it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the plan. You know, a lot of cool things in the works. So I'm excited, bro. It's going to be a huge year. It's going to be fun. I'll probably have my biggest poker year of all time in terms of at the tables. So I'm just going to keep studying.
I love this energy, man. I love this energy. I want to see you crush it this year. Always rooting for you, and I think you're working on a lot of cool stuff. And
thank you, sir.
I think you got the right mindset right now, and you're ready to grind, and we should do some pods.
Yeah, well, let's see what happens. I mean, I'm excited. You know, I'm definitely down to do more shows together. I like talking with you about keeping updated with what's happening, and you know, it makes a lot of sense. I think it's like you're a great person to bounce these ideas off of. You're in the trenches, grinded on your own version of what poker's going to look like in Texas, and you're trying to basically take the reverse Doyle Brunson route, where you went from Vegas to Texas, and now you're trying to, you know, you're helping to shape what the modern poker world in Texas is going to be. I think that's a great pursuit to have. I mean, I'm excited to see what you're going to do. So, you know, it's a lot of correlation. We're evolving, we're getting older, you know, we're maybe not as player focused anymore from playing the game,
or we're more player focused, depending on how you want to look at it.
Well, you did have a good year at the lodge. I mean, you had a good year on High Roll Poker. I saw that you were at the top of the list from the heads up matches, or what was that about? From
I think I'm up like 1.4 at the lodge on the stream, and I think it's like 400 or 500 from heads up, and then the rest is like one or two really high stakes games, and then that's I had one where I think like KBM and
Ben Lamb,
Ben Lamb and Jungle was there, and I don't remember who else.
Well, it seems like you do you don't really do many real big games anymore. Like you kind of did a lot. You did them for a little bit.
Honestly, Joey, it's just too much work. It's like you have to figure out other people, and like Skull runs most of our games, but the really big ones typically I'm involved in pretty heavily. Figure out everyone's schedules, figure out everyone's money, figure out everyone's this, figure out everyone's that, figure out everyone's lineup, figure out things are changing. And it's just like a lot of stress, you know? I mean, and like, I honestly, like, it's good content. So the content is great. And I've won a bunch, but I mean, I've run very hot, obviously. So like, you know, it's just not something I feel like I really need to do. And it's a lot of effort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's up to you, right? You know, obviously it's kind of like you build this casino, you build your card room, and then one of the perks of having that place is you can potentially play in that place, and you can invite anybody you want to play, and that could be all good players, it could be bad players, it could be tough players, it could be heads up, it could be ring. So I would say maybe take some more flexibility with the games that you play, and you know, have a reason why you're maybe playing them, and which I think you've done a good job of that in the past. And you hop in there for some streams, and you join the 5-10 game, you'll join the 1-2 game, you'll join the PLO game, and I think your fans, the lodge community, really loves to see that. They want to see you in the mix. You know, the fans come, they want to play with you. I mean, that's like, dude, that's what the biggest request is. Fans want to play with their favorite player, and so I wouldn't necessarily go away from that. I saw you post about should the owner be able to play in tournaments or play on the stream or something. You know, you posted about that, but
yeah,
you know, one of the biggest appeals of your guys' card room is you are playing with the players, and you're a part of the community, and you are connecting with the players on that level too. So, you know, I think that's cool. I love that kind of part, but I could also see you being hesitant to want to be winning tournaments and making final tables and, you know, winning money, right? Because it could be something that people now have, you know, a reason to ask questions or doubt the, you know, the legitimacy of something when, you know, you're just trying to play poker. I would imagine that's.
I think the difficult thing is with tournaments, people don't have a choice if they want to play or not. And so when the owner's there, they're forced to throw the owner, which I can kind of understand where they're coming from on that. I think it's a little ridiculous for me and our venue with everything that we've done. And most people would like to play with me, but I understand the tournament argument a bit. The cash game one is just like, you can choose if you want to play or not. So you can just not play.
Yeah.
So I understand that one way less. I have to run here, Joey. It's been great catching up.
Let's get it.
Thank you for the pod today. I want to let's crush it this year. I'm rooting for you. Let's do some stuff together. Big
Sounds
goals.
good.
And I want to see Poppy blasting away in some high stakes no limit streams.
Maybe we'll see about that. We'll see.
I'd like to see it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. All right, Doug.
I think
appreciate you coming
the chat, guys, does the chat want to see that? I believe that they do.
Maybe.
That'd be pretty sweet. I'd sweat some Joey high stakes streams for sure.
Well, we'll see. I mean, we'll see, Doug. Stay tuned for more. You never know what'll happen. So, but yeah, we appreciate everybody in the chat, guys. Everybody for tuning in. I know. We popped this up randomly, celebrate the New Year's, but it's gonna be a good year. So appreciate everybody in Doug's chat. Shout out to everybody out there watching. Shout out to everybody watching later in replay or listening Spotify or watching on my channel. And much love. That's it, Doug. Let you go. Get out of here. Peace out. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Appreciate you coming on.